Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Giant Conversation of This Topic Talks. I'm your host, Aaron Klingsmith. We've got a busy show today. We're going to talk about a McDonald's employee that saved an officer's life, a girl fighting cancer who gets an epic surprise, a woman who helps out a homeless man in the best way possible, a mom who praises her ex. Then we're going to shoot out into Mark's Multiverse, where we're going to talk about war on global warming. We're going to talk about how your brain could be 10 times more active than scientists thought, and robotic legs. That kind of sounds kinky, just a little bit. We're also going to we're going to go into Movie Madness Monday. We're going to talk about, is there going to be a Gladiator sequel? I think it's going to be weird. Despicable Me's got a sequel. Everybody's got a sequel. Power Rangers is getting a reboot. Baywatch is getting a reboot. Beauty and the Beast just came out. And we're going to talk about Moanna here on Topic Talks. Welcome to Topic Talks, where we talk about the topics you care about and leave out the ones you don't.
We talk about what most news sources don't. Media, movies, and the multiverse.
We even invite guests to come talk topics with us.
Come join in on the fun.
Let's get started. Okay, sorry if there was a little bit of an echo there, guys. I don't know what that was.
That was weird.
That was very weird. Okay, like I said, we've got a lot to talk about. Joining me as always, we've got Mark. How you doing, Mark?
Hey everybody, how's it going? Just got back from a convention in Lansing. That was a fun weekend.
Maybe a little bit too much fun.
Maybe. I'll talk about it a little bit in a minute.
And then we've got my buddy from my internship, Lucas.
Hi everybody, how's it going? How you doing?
So, how was your guys' weekends?
It was pretty fun. Like I said, I was at ShudoCon. And, did a lot of cool stuff. Got a lot of pictures, spent a bunch of money that I didn't need to spend, but it's okay. And, I bought some Zoids models. For anybody who don't know what Zoids are,
I don't know what Zoids are.
It's a mech anime, basically, where people pilot these giant robotic animals into battles against each other.
The next question is, do I care what Zoids are?
Anyways, also got some...
It's Power Rangers.
Right.
It's Power Rangers.
Right.
Also got some nerdy t-shirts, what else?
Some more nerdy t-shirts?
Some more nerdy t-shirts. As a matter of fact, I'm wearing one right now. I'll post it on the page. What else?
You do that.
Mm-hmm. We also played some
Because
Death Note Mafia, which is kind of like Find the Killer, Werewolf, Daybreak, any of those kinds of games if you played them.
We haven't.
Went to some raves, met a whole bunch of new people, got a lot of pictures.
Hold up. Did you just casually say
I went
to a rave?
No, I said I went to a couple raves.
Went to a couple raves. Okay.
But you just casually, I just went to some raves. I got bud.
That's so nonchalant.
I went shopping.
I went
shopping.
It's a serious big party. That's like walking up yeah, I stabbed somebody the other day. It felt great.
No, it's more like this. It's more like, oh, what'd you do today? Well, I went to the store. I stabbed somebody. I went to work. I went to my internship. I went to a rave. I'd be like, hold it back a second. Did you say you stabbed somebody? And then did you say you went to a rave?
Actually, at the studio across from where we internship at, me and Aaron at Nash, they had a little story going on. Apparently, some guy got pulled over, and he was arrested because he was drunk driving or something. He was completely intoxicated, and in the middle of this little interview he's doing with the cops back at the station, he's casually lets it slip. He's like, "Yeah, I murdered somebody. It was 25 years ago." So they don't know. They're like, "Why did you tell what?" Back in the 90s, yeah, I killed a guy. Or it was I broke into some chick's house and just it's that's about as nonchalant as you. I went to a rave. I killed someone 25 years ago. It's fine.
So tell me he was arrested.
Yes, I don't know the whole story.
Well, he was originally arrested. He was being interviewed, and that's why he...
I don't know if he can be arrested for the murder, because I don't know if there's a certain amount of years.
Statute of limitations?
Yeah,
I think there is.
He might have just been you know what? It's 25 years in 1 month. I'm free to go. And just let it fly.
Or he was drunk and...
It could be that, too.
He's drinking because he's lived with the information that he's killed somebody for, 25 years?
Yeah. Maybe he just snapped and he just wanted to go, get in trouble and be like, "Hey, boys, I got some stories for you."
Yeah. I feel so guilty about what I did in the 90s. It's So what's going on? I killed somebody. Oh.
Pretty much. But yes, no, I went to a couple raves, loud music, flashing lights, just a whole bunch of people jumping around, going crazy. It was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Sounds like a rave.
It was a rave.
Yeah.
It was definitely a rave. And, yes, very, very fun.
I'm glad you're keeping out the other parts of the rave, like drugs.
Nope, none of that.
Really?
It was a nerd rave.
Oh, true.
No, don't
So,
get me
like,
wrong. I'm sure there was probably
Kool-Aid
some
and
of that
stuff.
going on there. I mean, it's a rave. But
Snorting Cheetos and drinking Mountain
but I was not involved in such things. I was just there to
Guy running in with a sword. Mountain Dew!
Oh my god. But yes, no, it was a great weekend. Had a lot of fun, got a lot of pictures. I'll post some of them on the page. Hung out with some friends.
Again, yes, you will.
Yes, I will. And I'll post my shirt too, because it's cool. It's if you like Naruto, you'll like the shirt. Or if you even know what Naruto is, you'll recognize it. Which, Aaron, you probably don't.
I know what it is. Again, do I care? No.
No, you don't.
No.
But
You know what I do care about?
What do you care about?
This McDonald's employee that saved the life of an officer.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Do tell.
Okay.
You are the king of segues.
Thank you. So there was this guy. His name's Pedro
Villarreal?
Villarreal. We're gonna go with
guessing.
that. I had it earlier and I just forgot what it was.
Sorry, Pedro.
Anyway, he's a McDonald's worker, and you know how we usually have like the flight or fight response.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, he kind of jumped into action rather than fleeing or being a bystander and being like, yeah, somebody else to kind of take care of that. So what happened is he was working his normal shift, came in, and he had a customer that made an order for breakfast. She pulled up to the window. He went and she paid. He walked away for a second. When he came back, he noticed there was something weird.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess what had happened is she lost consciousness because she was hard of breathing,
Mm-hmm.
and her foot slipped off the brake, so she started rolling. She had her two kids in the back, and she happened to be an officer, an off-duty officer.
Right.
And he kind of saw that, and he jumped through the window, through the drive-through window, to try to help this officer. Which I guess he didn't know at the time that she was an officer. He was just another customer. And another coincidence, there also happened to be a paramedic at the same McDonald's inside.
Awesome.
Oh, wow.
So
Series of coincidences just popping right through.
So he did. He popped through the window.
Yeah, he did.
So he literally leaped into action through the window to stop the SUV. So then that way, and he said, he's like, I couldn't imagine, if these kids had to grow up without their mother just because, something happened.
Mm-hmm.
So he leapt through the window, somehow stopped the car. They really didn't get into detail. He stopped the car, and the paramedic came out, and he made everybody aware what was going on. The paramedic came out. She did have to be rushed to the hospital. It didn't say whether she was fine or not.
I was going to say,
didn't.
Did we do anything else or no?
No.
A lot of
It was
coincidences.
a very short story.
A lot of coincidences in there.
It's like jump from A to B,
Mm-hmm.
B to C, and everyone's happy now.
No, but it did. It
I mean, the
literally, because that
paramedic
was
being
one
there,
thing
I
I
think,
looked
too.
for, and it didn't say whether she was fine or not.
Right. Well, either way, though, it's still like the paramedic just happened to be there, and this guy, he sprung into action. That's good. I mean, I guess
I would
if
think
you're gonna-
it's good, unless she was like being a really terrible customer at that point. Like
Well, she was being
where he's
very
having a
terrible. She
moral
didn't say
dilemma.
thank you. She just kind of started driving away.
She's
Yeah, she didn't say
she's
thank
like
you.
that.
But it wasn't. Luckily, her foot wasn't on the gas. It was on the brake, so it just fell off the brake
Okay.
and not onto the gas.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It could this situation could have been much worse. So really,
I'm just glad he didn't have a moral dilemma like. She didn't give me any money. She just kind of drove off.
No, I think she paid because it said she paid, and then he walked away for a second to go and get her food.
Oh, okay.
And then when he turned around with her food, he knew something was weird.
Mm-hmm. Ma'am, he's just sticking his head out the window. Ma'am, forgot your change. Ma'am, forgot your change.
I've had a few instances in my life where it's like I would go like to a fast food restaurant to get my food.
Yeah.
And like I'd just be so preoccupied thinking about where I'm going or what stuff I gotta do that I would literally pay them. I would like get my drink and I would forget my food. Then I'd be like, oh crap, I gotta go back and get my food. I've had that happen like twice.
I had it a little while ago. I stopped. It was actually coming back from one of the days in our internship, and I stopped at Taco Bell, and I was like, okay. And she gave me a bag of food. It was a giant bag of food. Whenever I go to Taco Bell, and
Me too. Don't worry.
I drive off, and I'm about to pull off onto the main road, and I just get this like smack on the back of my car. I'm like, and so he's like, "You forgot your Crunch Wrap." I'm like, "Could you have? You could have like knocked," but she was like, "What?" As hard as she could, like 3 times. I'm like, did I hit a squirrel? What?
No, it would have been did a squirrel hit me.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, I looked up another article and it said he was honored, but it doesn't say whether she was okay.
Oh. Well, I'm going to take the opportunity to take the narrative and say she is 100% fine, her condition is stable, and she is A-okay.
I would assume that if there's no more,
I would assume
or else
so
it would be McDonald's employee's attempt of saving an officer failed.
Or
yeah, it does.
Or
it does say saves the life of an officer, so I think she's okay.
I would hope so.
Either way, that's a pretty nice story.
Or else his hard work is kind of for nothing.
Man,
give this man a raise.
Manslaughter or something. That's terrible.
Right.
Okay. And moving on to the next story, because I can't think of a good segue for this one. So you remember how we were talking about a Dog's Purpose a while ago, and I went and saw it and gave it this rave review?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, apparently there was a girl who wanted to see it just as badly as I did, because apparently I was acting like a girl when I wanted to see it because it was a sweet movie.
That's your usual state of being, so I don't know why anything has changed.
Thank you. Somebody finally said it. No, I'm kidding.
You are a very happy bearded woman. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Anywho, so Brooke is her name. It's actually Brooke Mudford, and she's 12 years old. She was so excited to see the movie A Dog's Purpose that she was literally counting down the days until she could see it.
That's great.
But something got in her way. In January, a tumor that she knew she had in her skull grew and caused a brain bleed, resulting in emergency surgery and brain radiation and all that kind of stuff that comes with cancerous tumors. And so she's been staying at the Children's Hospital in Pennsylvania.
You mean Philadelphia?
Sorry, it says Pennsylvania.
It says Philadelphia.
In Philadelphia.
Do
Sorry,
no, I don't.
Where's Philadelphia?
Listen. Don't get on me about geography or anything.
Where is Philadelphia?
We're not getting on with you about geography. We're getting on you about the name.
Sorry, I'm reading Philadelphia here, and I'm not very good at which cities are in which states.
Okay.
Just ask. Until like 2 or 3 months ago, I wasn't even sure which state Washington D.C. was in.
Oh, good lord!
What for the posterity's sake? Which state is it in?
It's in Washington.
Oh, good lord!
I'm kidding.
I was hoping so. Answer my question then. Which state is it in?
Oh my god. Anyways, move on.
No. This is from the same guy who thought Harriet Tubman got Harriet Tubman and Harriet Truman mixed up.
Okay, enough from the bearded lady over here.
Because he was talking about how Harriet Tubman was a fat president that got stuck in a bathtub.
Again, 2 names that were similar.
I'm sorry, but how ironic would it be that your name's Harriet Tubman and you get stuck in a bathtub?
That would be so ironic.
And more importantly, that's William Howard Taft.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Anyway, I'm sorry. Continue.
So, anyway, so she was staying in Pennsylvania, in Philadelphia, because Philadelphia is in Pennsylvania. Remember that. He won't remember that.
Just remember Fresh Prince.
Oh my god! There we go. Born and raised.
Anyway,
I'll play
and so she's been there since the end of February. And she's been fighting cancer since about 2009, when she was diagnosed at the age of 4. So, she was all excited to see this movie, and all this went down. And so it made her very emotional about whether she was going to be able to actually see the movie or not. I mean, at this point she's going through radiation. She just had a big surgery. And so when her aunts were visiting her one day, she broke down into tears because, or just on this topic, she really wanted to see it. She didn't know if she was going to be able to make it. So naturally, her aunts, wanting to try to make her as happy as possible, leapt into action and took to Facebook. And they got a few people back that said, "Hey, I got a pirated copy."
Yeah.
And the little girl, bless her heart, she's like, "No, I want to do this legitimately. Like, I don't want a bootleg copy of this. I want to see the real thing." And so again, they took back to Facebook. Well, the author, because A Dog's Purpose was originally a book, and the author of the book, his name's W. Bruce Cameron, and his wife, who wrote the screenplay for the movie, Catherine Michon. So they kind of caught word of what was going on, and they arranged for her to have a signed book and a T-shirt from the movie sent to her, as well as they got hold of the production company and arranged for a complete legitimate copy of the movie to be and a private viewing to be sent to this little girl.
That's nice.
Now let's see if I can find it, because I have the right here. So what the author wrote in the book is, he says, "I wrote this story because I believe love is eternal and that we all go on to meet again," is what he wrote in the book.
Yeah.
And he put for Brooke at the top. So that was kind of cool. And there's a few pictures in the article. If you go in the description below, there's a link. Follow that. It's got all the pictures of her aunts and her in a book and things like that. Now, she got her own private viewing, and her mom's like, "Oh, that was cool." Her aunts went and got some popcorn, and they sat and watched the movie.
Yeah.
She thought it was the best thing ever, as I did. I thought it was an awesome movie. Now, the story doesn't stop there.
Really?
She also got a visit from the dog who played Bailey in the movie with her handler.
Oh my god. Wait. Which Bailey? The Bailey from the beginning? The original Bailey. Because the dog's name wasn't Bailey at the end of the movie, but it was still Bailey as...
Not the end. It was like the end of his first life.
So the golden retriever.
Right.
The golden retriever Bailey.
Yes.
Okay, now that is really cool.
Yeah.
Oh, the puppy.
So here's another funny thing. She actually has a golden retriever at her house. Brooke does. And it's named Bailey. His name is Bailey.
Aww.
Which is one of the reasons why she wanted to see the movie so bad.
It's like, this is a movie about my dog.
Now, the actual dog's name was Trip.
Trip.
And
ain't that a trip?
So I mean, listen to this. Brooke spent a lot of time with this dog and told him how great of a job he did on the movie, and the mom thinks because they were both missing their dog so much, they were they were petting him a lot, and they spent several hours with this dog.
Aww.
I just think the story as a whole is awesome.
Yeah, no, that's...
I mean, usually it's like, okay, he got his own private screening. We've done stories like that before.
Yeah.
But they got a signed copy of the book. They got a T-shirt. They got to meet the dog that played Bailey in the movie. I mean,
yeah. So can we also give like a mini round of applause, because it says that she's been fighting cancer since 2009 when she was 4 years old. It's 2017, so
right.
she's been fighting that for 8 years. Nice.
There you go.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So, yeah. That's a really nice story, and you know what? For somebody who's gone through such hardship, it's even great. It's even better to hear about such a beautiful thing being able to happen for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it reminds me, when I got home from the con last night, and it's like another example of dogs being too good for us. I walked through the door and nobody else is home. It's just my dog, and like he's sitting there, he's just like waiting for me, and like as soon as I come to the door, he's just like all over me, and it was cute.
Charlie's always like that.
Well, Charlie is not even a year old yet. My dog is like 9. So
Aw.
I mean,
He's an old puppy stage then.
yeah, he's an old horse of a dog, but yeah, no, he was
My
getting all
dog's a
excited.
pony. He's not quite to the horse stage yet.
No, he's not. But he's a very large.
Yes,
Very
he is
large
large.
dog.
He's already, I don't know about weight wise, like
80
width,
pounds.
but yeah, like size wise, he's already bigger than Lucky. Like your
80
dog
pounds.
is huge.
80 pounds.
I got two chocolate labs
Nice.
at home, mom and daughter.
Do they melt
And-
when it gets hot?
They do, and you can tell because they just flop down on the side. Wherever they are. But the daughter is the bigger of the two. She's 90 pounds.
Wow.
She's a tank, and it's scary when she runs full bore at you because you have to do
You gotta turn and run.
You have to do the Heisman pose because you don't know if she's about to knock you over or
Right. So Charlie's on track to probably be over 100 pounds
easily.
easily.
Yeah.
Because he is less than a year, and he's not going to stop growing probably until about 2 years.
Roughly a year and a half, 2 years.
Year and a half,
probably.
2 years, and he's growing at a pretty rapid rate. I mean,
You're gonna have a hoss. You're gonna have a miniature Clydesdale
Yeah.
sitting in your living room.
Yep. But he's very obedient though. That's the really good part is he's very obedient. We rarely ever have problems, but he is still a puppy. So once we get that puppy energy out, he's very fantastic. But my friend does have a dog, and it's a lab mix with something, and his name is actually Tank
Nice.
because in his youth
yeah.
he would run, and I mean I used to be a lot bigger guy. He would run and knock me over,
Mm-hmm.
like full blast, just run and knock me over.
Have you seen the world's biggest pit bull?
Yes.
Okay.
His name is Tank. Where they breed him specifically because his
He's so
genetics are perfect for guard dogs or whatever.
Oh yeah.
The kids ride this dog.
They've got mountain. I can't remember. There's this one.
Bernese mountain dog.
Yes, my friend's dad wants one of those because you have to go. You have to take a year off work for this thing.
Yeah.
Because you have to go. You have to be there when it's born, and then you have to figure out you can train it
Oh my
2 to
God.
3 ways. You can train it to be
Yeah, that's the
faithful to only you.
Aaron, I'm looking up this picture of Tank, the world's biggest pit bull.
I've seen it.
He's absolutely massive.
I've seen it.
I believe they weighed him in at 150 pounds. He lost weight.
No,
He's
but
just huge.
Good lord.
But,
that's huge.
no, these mountain dogs are probably about that size, if not bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And
Have you guys-
you can teach it to be A, faithful to only you, B, faithful to you and your family, or C,
Yeah.
faithful likes everyone. So this can be a really big guard dog,
Yeah.
kind of a big guard dog,
Or
or
a big fluff ball.
a big fluff ball. And he wants to he wants to get it and have it be, for him and his family, and then anybody else, unless he entered. Because I actually had a dog like that, and if we didn't introduce, anybody to this dog,
Yeah.
he would automatically assume that they were bad,
Oh, jeez.
just because he was so protective of us.
Yeah. He's like,
And he
you're
wouldn't
not gonna touch my human.
he wouldn't do anything. He would bark a lot.
I was actually just about to mention what you're looking up.
Yeah, the Russian bear dog.
That might be it too. I don't know. It's like one of the world's largest dogs.
There are so many dogs that are just breeds that are just enormous that you don't hear about, and then you see them and you're like,
Oh my god.
how do you exist with this dog?
And I thought a
surprised it
bull
hasn't
mastiff
eaten-
was large.
Yeah,
Oh, I think you're thinking of the Tibetan Mastiff. It literally looks
Both-
like a lion.
both are huge.
They're both really big.
Mastiffs in general are.
Although they
just big.
drool a lot.
I feel bad for the bull mastiffs though. I feel bad for them
Why?
because of genetic inbreeding that they have to make the line pure. Some of those dogs look just sad to be alive.
Yes.
Aaron, tell me that doesn't look like a black lion.
Holy.
That's a Tibetan Mastiff.
That is the epitome of don't screw with me or I will eat you.
Right.
Yeah.
No.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll have to post this picture up on the Facebook. Anybody who's seen a picture of a Tibetan Mastiff, this is like the generic. This is the picture that you probably saw if you've seen it, because I've seen this all over the place. This is like the poster of Tibetan Mastiffs, and this thing looks like a lion that is about to pounce.
He looks fuzzy.
He
It
does
looks
though.
so fuzzy. I want to pet it. But
I want to
this
name
thing
him
would tear
Fluffy,
me- it would
like the
tear-
3-headed dog
It's-
from Harry Potter.
You would have to name it Fluffy. This is like, it's like the perfect name for such an animal. This thing is. It is Fluffy. And
I feel like if it's kind of the same way, like you can train it, one of 3 ways.
Yeah.
You know, faithful only you, faithful to you and your family, or just a giant fluff ball? Because I would get one of those and make it a giant fluff ball.
You mean like
And cuddle
like
with
this,
it.
like this one here?
Cuddle on it all day.
Yeah, exactly.
Not with it, on it.
Like most dogs you can't lay back on, but that dog's just like, yeah, whatever, do what you want. My dad told me a story. He knew a guy that taught his dog commands in only German.
Really?
So the guy
Actually,
spoke.
no, I think
he wasn't like in Germany. He was in America. He spoke German and English, but he only gave the dog commands in German. So I'm like, that's awesome. But what if you have to go away somewhere and you can't bring him, and the person you leave him with doesn't speak German?
German Shepherds are like that. German Shepherds actually respond better to the German language than they do to the English language.
Well, I think actually, certain police departments do that on purpose too, like as a training thing. So it's like, you know, it's not like so it's not totally obvious what they're telling their dog to do when they're chasing a perp or anything like that.
And the perp just can't be like, stop. The dog's like, oh, okay.
Exactly. It's like, you know.
Well, those dogs don't. Those dogs listen to their handlers, and that's pretty much it.
Right.
I mean, if you've been near a police dog, that's why when you were in school,
they're heavily
and they were
disciplined.
doing the and they were taking the police dog through the school, it was because one, they don't want the dog to harm you, but two, they don't want you to distract it.
Yeah.
Those were the two of the reasons that I was given why they don't want you, like why everybody's locked in their classroom while they're taking the dog through the school. That, and if you have something in your...
In Clarkston, we didn't have drug dogs that came through that often, so we probably should have.
I was going to say we did, and they always said they found something.
Same here.
But...
we got somebody today. It's like,
but,
who?
Well, no. I was going to say, but we know that they also had to, at some point, put some somewhere so the dog could get his treat for finding whatever it was.
Maybe just testing the dog.
Yeah, maybe it was just like a training exercise.
Well, no, it's they take them through, and if they don't find anything, they'll have one of the officers plant something, and then take it through so that when it gets it does help train it, but they're doing it to make sure there's no drugs in the school.
Yeah, I have a little bit of a tangent if it's all right if I.
No, you're good.
Go, okay,
go for it.
So it relates to the whole drug dog thing.
Right.
So when I was in 8th grade,
you were doing drugs?
Yeah, I was not doing drugs.
Oh, okay.
There was a kid in the school system in the junior high.
Was he doing drugs?
He was doing drugs. He was doing a lot of weed, and
he was doing the weed.
He was doing the marijuana, and this I don't know. They never said his name because they didn't want to embarrass the kid or whatever, right? But he got arrested. And the police were like, told his parents, right, you can either put him in juvie, or we can do like the Scared Straight program where we put him in jail for a day, and we're like, this is exactly what your life's going to look like if you don't stop doing what you're doing.
Right.
So obviously, being the good parents that they were, they wanted their son being in jail. They said, okay, do the Scared Straight program. So the kid gets there on like whatever Saturday of the month it was, and he probably thought for some reason that it was just going to be, all right, I'm just going to go sit in this jail cell. I'm just going to sit there for like 7-8 hours, and then I'm going to leave. I'm going to go home, and I can go smoke more weed. No, they do the full thing. They pat you down.
Don't you mean do more weed?
Yeah. And so they do the full thing. They pat you down and all that stuff.
Right.
This idiot brought a dime bag of weed into the Scared Straight program, and they're like, "All right, dude, we're booking you now. We're not even gonna go through the full day." He's like, "Oh."
It's like, you blew it.
It's like you had a chance. Like, and I'm sitting there going, like, so even if you weren't going to an actual jail cell, what made you think bringing in drugs to a police station was a good idea to begin with?
Right.
I still haven't recovered from that thought process.
I don't think he's recovered from that thought process.
Probably not.
I don't think there was a thought process.
Don't do drugs, kids.
I think
they'll make you bring more drugs into a police station.
I think it was a lack of thinking process.
Probably got him in the situation to begin with.
Right.
Lovely.
Oh, you know what situation I would hate to be in?
What situation?
Captain?
The same one that the kid from The Blind Side was in. Which again brings us to our next story.
Oh, what do you know? Look at that.
Yeah.
It's like he jumps from one place to another.
I know.
Right,
Okay. So this story, I had a different title and I changed it to kind of comparing it to The Blind Side because I could draw so many comparisons.
Yeah.
The further I got into the story. So there's this girl named Ginger Sprouse. And she's a woman. She owns her own business. It's actually, I think, like a cooking company that she teaches other people how to cook really well and do really cool dishes, things like that. And every day for 3 years, she passed by this gentleman who was on the side of the road, and he never asked for anything. He would go up to people's cars and like sit there and chit chat, but he never asked for anything.
Yeah.
And so it took her 3 years, but after 3 years, she finally decided to stop. And she found out his name was Victor. His name was Victor Hubbard. And she had one question. She wanted to know, why did he never leave that street corner? He was always there. You know, why did you never go anywhere else? And apparently she said he was so sweet. He didn't ask for money. He was just excited that she wanted to stop and talk.
Yeah.
And I guess the reason he never moves from that corner is because that's where his mom knew where he was last.
Oh, jeez.
So he's waiting for his mom to come back.
So he's waiting for his mom to come back.
That's painful.
Well, he is a grown adult.
Yeah.
But he does have some mental issues.
That makes it 10 times worse.
Right. So every day, Ginger spent a little bit more time because this was almost practically right outside her business.
Yeah.
Is where he was standing, you know, so she could walk over there and have lunch with him, things like that. So she started spending more and more and more time with him and, you know, getting to know him a lot. And after a while, she decided to offer him to stay at her house. And he would stay periodically, you know, he'd come and go.
But then he would go back to the corner.
Right. And so she started a GoFundMe page for him and raised $18,000.
Oh, wow.
And people just started giving him a lot of stuff, like pillows, blankets, clothes, socks, shoes. And every time she'd pass by, she's like, what is he going to do with all this stuff? He doesn't need more stuff. He doesn't need, you know, sandwiches or food or anything like that. He's got all that. He needs a place, you know, a place with someone that cares about him. So this story got a lot of attention from Facebook and things like that, and they were able to track down his mother.
Mm-hmm.
And here's what his mother said. We are very hopeful that he will make good decisions and not want to go back and stay with her and continue this cycle of being medicated and being out on the street, all of those things that can go along with a mental illness. Because the mother did not have the capacity to be able to care for I'm trying to remember his name.
For her son.
For Victor.
Yeah.
And so after that, Ginger just kind of decided, just kind of like the girl did in The Blind Side, that she was just going to take him in and make him a member of her family.
Nice.
So you see where I'm drawing the comparisons
to
the. So that's why I changed the title. But I love stories like this, and I love The Blind Side. It was a great movie.
Yeah.
And it was based on a true story, although apparently he if you talk to the real Mike Orr, he actually knew how to play football.
Yeah, that was Disney spicing it up as this giant behemoth that was completely clueless on a lot of stuff.
Well, it wasn't just that. I mean, he said he knew how to play football, but it kind of melted into the storyline that they had going on. Is really why they did it. Because he wasn't really as educated as he could have been.
Yeah.
And but he did, like I said, he did know how to play football. Was the one thing he complained about the movie. But he did understand that, you know, it was just to kind of follow the storyline and bring it around and match it up with the name. But anyway, so I love that story, and I love everybody who was involved in doing that. And I really like this because it's kind of the same thing. I mean, you have how many people on the street, and how many of them may have a mental disorder, or may, you know, just need a job or a suit, or may need some help, and everybody just kind of drives by.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this before. A friend of mine, Justin, and his wife actually create he calls them hobo packages.
Yeah.
And what they just kind of got the little necessities that they may need. No money, but you know, just kind of like toothbrush, toothpaste, just kind of like hygiene things, and I think maybe some coupon or just kind of necessities that they may need.
Just out of the goodness of your heart.
Right, something that they can keep in their car, you know, so it doesn't have food in it that they can, you know, that can go bad, but they keep them in their car, and anytime they see someone on the side of the road, they hand it to them.
Yeah.
and they know that it's somebody looking for more drugs if they don't take it.
Yeah, that's all. That's like the number one thing here. Do you want? I can pay you in food. No, it's gonna be money. No, I'm not giving you money.
I had a friend, and he won't pay. He won't give him any money. And he saw this guy for a while, that was on the side of the road, and he stopped one day and he said, "Listen," he said, I will take you into that Wendy's and I will buy you anything you want off the menu.
Mm-hmm.
Meal, full large meal, whatever you want. And he said, "No, I just think I want some money." And he's like, "Well, I'm not going to give you some money." He's like, "I'm offering to take you there and buy you whatever you want off that menu. Give you as much food as you need." And all he wanted was money. And he said, "Then you're not getting anything because I'm not going to give you money." Now, on the other hand, my girlfriend's old boss goes by this motto. She will give them any amount of money because, like, she'll hand them $20. And she said, and this is kind of her logic behind it. She said, well, they can either take the $20 and put it towards getting off the street, that way, like help buying a suit or something like that and get a job, or they'll take more drugs and die. Either way, they're off the street.
That's a very morbid look at the world.
But if you,
it's accurate, but it's morbid.
You see, I thought you were gonna take that a different direction where it's like, I gave some money, I did my good deed for the day, and that was that. I figured you were gonna take that direction.
No, but that's her take on it.
They'll either sober up or they'll get drugs and die.
But that's the point. I mean, they're gonna do what they're gonna do, and there's nothing you can do to really stop them from that.
That's true.
Two kinds of people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If somebody does give them money, they're probably going to use to buy drugs if they're that way.
Yeah.
Or they're going to put it towards something, like maybe getting food or something to maybe help them get off the streets.
Yeah.
Right.
It's for me. Is what I'm going to do constructive? If you only want money, I'm going to assume that you're just going to go get drugs.
Right.
So I can't in good conscience give someone that only wants money.
Right.
Because it's like, oh, well, I know exactly what you're going to do, and that's not going to help you in any way.
Right.
So, I mean, she's right. It's one or two things will happen, but for me, it's like
I won't give them. And I thought about putting together these care packages when I get a little bit more funds, because my funds right now are, I'm on the verge of being homeless. Not really,
no.
But I mean, I'm paying my bills, but I need to do that first before I take care of anybody else.
Yeah.
But when I do get a good job, I might make these little packages and just hand them to people that are on the road, because we have a lot of them around in this area. I haven't seen too many in the parts of Detroit that I have been in, but
that's because you're like in where we are in the Fisher building. That's like north of Midtown.
Yeah.
If you want to see a lot of homeless, go about Midtown.
If you want to see a lot of homeless people
between Midtown and downtown Detroit, that's usually where they are. I mean, I went to Wayne State for a couple of years, so there's always within that area. If you walk down, especially Woodward.
I was gonna say here it's between like Flint and Burton is really mainly where you see it.
There's a few places I know. Like there's a corner, like the corner when you get off the freeway there.
Yep.
I find
Bristol
that
Road.
50% of the time when I'm pulling off the freeway to come here.
And then if you go straight to the next road, there's usually one or two there.
Mm-hmm. And then
they always go to that
speedway
like when they
right
have
there. Creative signs. Sorry, I just killed my family. I need money for karate lessons. I'll give you money for that because it's creative.
Yep. And then what else? There's also a spot off of, I think it's 75 in Rochester. There's usually somebody there too.
Yeah.
But but I mean, I'm not trying to like locate all these people or anything like that.
Just like there's one here, there's one here.
These are just typical
do what
places.
you need to do.
Anyway,
there's just a few places I've just noted inside my head where it's like, okay, more than 50% of the time, you know. But I mean, still, it's kind of sad to see that kind of stuff. It's if I had a lot of money, I'd help them out. I'd get them food or whatever, anything like that.
I gave a gentleman some pop bottles one night. Well, I gave him some change in the beginning because I was on a run for my old job. We were at a factory.
Yeah.
And let's just say the air conditioning in there.
It's not good.
Well, they have it, but the problem is because it's a candy company and they've got fans over the cookers. It's
just
like
makes everything hot.
Well, it's pretty much like the cookers are hot. The machine that I was running is hot, and then you got these little tiny window air conditioners that are trying to cool everything down.
does not work.
But then you've got giant fans that are really sucking that cold air up,
Mm-hmm.
and so it kind of didn't do anything. So one thing that we did for a while is we'd go to Speedway and get freezies. We'd send someone on their lunch break and just have them run and get some for everyone.
Yeah.
And so I made the run once. And when I got out of the car, I was approached by a gentleman. He said he was a veteran and was just looking for kind of he's like, anything you can give me, just a little bit of change. I want to go in and buy this.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, sure, because I didn't have money to buy him, or else I would have walked him in there. No, I'll get it for you.
Yeah.
So I gave him some spare change out of my pocket. Actually, it was out of my car door. And then, and he's like, oh, thank you. And I said, no problem. I went in. It was a giant hassle because I had to get a million Slurpees.
Yeah.
On my way back out with a handful of million Slurpees, he hit me up again. He's like, I don't know if I just hit you up, or he's like, I think I might have, and blah, 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 blah. And I said, listen, I gave you my last, a little bit of change. I don't have any more.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I was kind of lying. I had bills in my wallet, but
Dollar bills.
I needed that for
You
gas.
needed more
and
than
things like that.
Yeah.
And so he's like, well, anything will help. And of course, I open up my car and there's a million pop bottles in there. So I'm like, well, here you go. Here's
a
like
bunch of pop bottles. Yeah.
three or four pop bottles.
Yeah. What did he say to that?
No, he said thank you.
Oh,
He was very humble about it. And then life went on, and I went back to work with my million Slurpees.
And say lovey.
And I never did that again. Not the giving them money, the Slurpee thing.
Run.
It was a mess.
Oh yeah, helping people never. Ugh.
No.
Gosh.
Anyway.
No, I'm kidding.
I do got one more story if you're all right with
No,
that.
you're good.
So when I was down at Wayne State still, there's a guy walking around asking for change. He's like, all right, if we can get these answers right, here's a little questionnaire. If you can guess it right and I can guess the last one right, you give me a little. You don't have to pay me anything, but if everything goes right, you give me a little cash for the. Like, okay, sure. What? He's like, what is the greatest city in America? And look.
Don't ask me. I'm horrible with geography.
And my buddy was like Detroit, and I'm like, I don't know, like Philadelphia or something. He's like, generosity. And then he's like, what's the best nation in the world? And we're like, the U.S. He's like, donation.
Oh.
And he's like, all right, you didn't get the first two, but we'll double down for a third question. If I can answer this right, you give me a little cash. I'm like, okay. He's like, I can tell you where you got your shoes. I'm like, okay, where'd I get them? He's like, on your feet. I'm like, all right, here you go. Here's $5.
Hey,
I was happy. I'm like, okay.
I would be impressed. I think I would give him money.
You got me. You got me on that one.
Right.
I'll admit, as far as helping out, people in need, there are the situations where I would give them money from like today, from who I am today. I've given them money before, but at this point, I've grown up a bit. I've grown more knowledgeable into where the money halfway time goes.
Yeah.
But it's like clever stuff like that is what will get me to be like, all right, fine, here's a couple bucks.
Right.
You entertain me. Here's your money.
Well, no, but it's one of those things because they're not just on a street corner asking for money. They're like,
they're having fun with it.
How about this?
They're having fun with it.
I'll give you something and entertain you for a few seconds, and then if you get this all wrong, you give me money. Yeah. And it's kind of a scam, but it's a fun scam.
It's a fun scam. It's an enjoyable scam.
Because like you're agreeing to it. You're like, okay, sure, whatever. And he's not saying like $20. He's like, just give me something.
Yeah.
Give me $1.
Yeah, exactly. Something, anything, please.
Think about how much time and thought that went into that.
Probably,
he probably does that 100 times a day.
Yeah, he's just got to on like that.
I know, but how long do you think it took him to think of that originally?
I don't know.
It
may be like a day.
He could be a very
witty person.
Yes.
Like the most entertaining person you will ever meet in your life, but he's got no money. And it's sad now.
Anyway. So no, but back to this blindside thing. I think this is cool.
Yeah.
And she actually also got him a job at her. She gave him a job at her work.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Awesome.
So she gave him a job. I don't really understand what she does. It's like she teaches people how to cook. So I think he's kind of like her assistant.
Okay, maybe
kind of
just
how-
like
kind of-
just
She's
say
like
pineapple.
Pineapple.
Thank you.
a cooking coach.
There we go. Okay.
Anyways, no, I just thought it was kind of cool because it did have like a blindside kind of twist to it.
Yeah.
And you know, like I said, she passed by this dude for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder how many times in those 3 years she actually thought about, you know, I should
Doing
stop.
this, yeah.
And I mean, it took 3 years, but hey,
At least it got to that point.
right.
At least it got there. It's better than like 20 years down the road. I should have helped that poor man that was sitting out by my shop every single day. I
Right.
feel bad now.
Right. You know what I don't feel bad about?
What's that?
This father. Because he was being praised by the mother of his child.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Ah.
So there was this mom that took to Facebook, and she just, you know, because a lot of the time now you've got baby daddies and exes and drama and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, like leave my kid alone. He's
Right.
not really yours.
Mhm.
Right. This one is actually a twist. It's this mom praises her ex at how good of a father he is. And I'm going to I try not to do this too much, but I'm going to read this post, and it is kind of lengthy. But you know, there's certain things that I can't reword
Yeah.
and have enough emotion
Right.
in. So, excuse me if I pause, because like I said, it is long. So she posted to Facebook, and she said, "This is my ex. This guy right here is more valuable than gold. This is a man who doesn't pay a dime through the state because when my son needs new clothes, I just call him. This man buys a bundle of kids' movies on Vudu so even I can enjoy them with my son in my own home. A man who drops off the $45 box of pull-ups at the front door so I don't have to load him up and go to the store. One who takes his son on 10 minutes notice far more often than he should because I have too much to get done or just need a nap. This is the man who listens to me cry because I'm stressed out. This is the man who tells his son not to forget his mommy's boyfriend when he lists his favorite people off the top of his head. A man who rushes over because we got locked out of the house or spends his evening fixing something for us." Which, pause real quick. Where's the boyfriend in like fixing stuff?
First of all, yeah. Second of all, it's like I'm listening to this and I'm just like, so why is he the ex?
Yeah, why did you break up with this man?
Anyway, so to continue, this is a man who's labeled as the present, or who labeled the present that he bought for his son from mommy because mommy couldn't get as many presents. A man who still watches my sister's kids so our son can be with his cousins. One who accompanies me to meet strangers from Craigslist to ensure that we are safe. This is the diaper bag wearing, chocolate milk making, selfless, protective, generous, accomplished father to my son. The amount of obstacles that we've overcome getting to this point are tremendous. This was not easy. This was a choice. We stopped giving excuses and come together for your. So stop giving excuses and come together for your children. The most stubborn person that I have known and forgiveness comes easy to us for the sake of our son. And because of that, I see my son every single day. We are always welcome in each other's presence. In case I haven't told you lately, I'm grateful for you. Most importantly, for the motivated individual you are, and how you provide Pearson with a phenomenal role
model.
My bad. Role model. I told you it's long. I'm starting to
could have popcorn
not focus
to one of us.
It's okay.
Role model, despite the foundation. popcorn to someone else.
Foundation you once had. I love the amount of love my son will always have from you.
Thank you.
There we go. Very
Holy
last
crap.
I read all the signs
no,
and
anyway.
stuff you'll see in a minute, so I'm used to long stuff.
So
Just
now
asking.
I didn't ask myself why did they break up, because I have met people who get along together or get along better together as friends than they do in a relationship.
Agreed.
So I never questioned that. That's probably what this kind of case here, or they did have some form of drama and they just, you know what, this is dumb.
Yeah.
But I did have a question.
Okay.
Where's the boyfriend in all of this?
It's true. For me, it kind of goes in, why aren't you still with this guy? Because when you have somebody who you're not in a relationship with, you still might be, the father of your son or whatever.
Right.
You're not in a relationship with, doesn't live with you, isn't, always around, isn't always there,
Right.
isn't constantly present, but will come and fix something when you need it done, or will do this, or will do this, or will do this at any time of the day.
That's a boyfriend.
That's a boyfriend. That's not just the father to your son. That's someone that still actually cares about
He's
you
there.
and loves you. That's different than just he's my ex and we had a kid together. And he's there with diapers sometimes.
But like I said, I can see this going a little bit differently, because I can see this father being about as active as he is, but saying, he helps my boyfriend with fixing things around the house. He helps, but this dude's doing it all.
I would be really interested in hearing the build-up story to how this came to happen. Because first of all, this is a cool story.
Right.
It's great that they were able to have such a relationship after breaking up and having kid, blah, 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 all that.
Right.
But it definitely raises some questions to how did they get to this point? What went downhill and then allowed them to come uphill like this?
Like I said, they were probably arguing a lot.
Okay. If you go to the link in it, it talks about she's only 22 years old.
Oh.
Her son is 2.
Okay.
And he is 27. So he's 5 years older than she is. But it sounds like they had a huge, that was last year. So when he was 1 year old, they split up.
Okay.
Right. So she doesn't go into detail about what it was exactly that drove them apart, which split them in twain. But it's a little, it's different, and not in a bad way. But
I think it's modern.
It's modern.
I think this is how it should be.
Like art. You don't quite get it, but it's there.
So are you saying that this plays into our, what's the word to describe it? I guess what our society
millennial generation.
Our hookup culture.
Social construct.
This is
I like that better. Social construct.
Section of our social construct, our hookup culture, so to speak, where they manage to make it work, but they still do their own thing.
Yeah, which
has
its benefits as far as freedom. Individual freedom, but at the same time, it's
thinking of it that way, it makes a lot more sense. So, I mean, it sounds like really, by the sound of it, it sounds like they were never really all that together.
Yeah. Well, if she had the kid at 20 years old, here's the how long were they dating before she had this kid?
Well, and I mean, it could have been ended up being a one night stand type deal.
It could have.
And they tried to make a relationship out of it, found out they were two different people.
Yeah.
And it never said he was doing this for her. He said he was
doing it for the kid.
He's doing it for the kid.
Right. It could be. Yeah. Like I said, it's a complicated situation. We're the outsiders' opinions here. So it's I commend them for being able to achieve such a.
I was going to say, I have divorced parents, and they can barely talk to each other, much less,
Same.
be in the same room. So it's kind of, this is kind of nice, because my generation grew up, or at least a lot of the people that I knew whose parents were divorced, separated, things like that.
Yeah.
They didn't get along.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I even have a friend whose parents divorced before he had never known them together.
Yeah.
And they can hardly stay in a room with each other for longer than 20 minutes.
Right.
Now, granted, they do kind of what my family does, and they play nice, and they can do it for quite his graduation party and things like that. Like his graduation party was at his dad's house.
Yeah.
Right behind mine. That's how we became friends. And his mom was there, and his mom, did some of the some of the help kind of organizing, and his dad's new wife, his stepmom, did some of the organizing too. Well,
they coexisted.
Right.
It wasn't just that.
Well, and it's like my
woman.
21st birthday. Like,
Yeah.
my grandma does not like my stepdad.
Yeah.
It's well known, and it's understandable why. Because it's, it's my dad's mom.
Mm-hmm.
But on my 21st birthday, we went to a bar, and they all sat down, and they were friendly for a couple hours.
Yeah.
Until my grandma was like, okay, it's past my bedtime, I need to go home. Because I was out very, very, very late on my 21st birthday.
Well, usually who isn't?
But anyway,
They sat at home all day.
But they sat and played nice with each other.
I'll admit, I knew my name by the end of the night, so obviously I didn't have enough fun.
Exactly.
I had several beers, and
I had several beers.
I was trying to tell somebody else how to drive.
I had enough to need and have a designated driver, but that's about it. I
was trying to tell the DD how to drive.
I've had much worse nights since my 21st birthday.
Oh yeah. Anyway, no, but the fact that they can sit and play nice, and these are the same people who were, when I was younger, literally fighting over me.
Yeah.
So I've grown up in a generation that's like that, where they play nice, and that's about as far as it goes, and it only lasts for a couple hours.
And then it just starts going south.
Well, it doesn't really go south. They just kind of, one of them will leave, and then, then they're separated again, and they don't have to
deal with it anymore.
For a while.
Yeah.
And so I'm hoping this is where this next generation is going.
Mm-hmm.
To like this, okay, we have a kid, we need to coexist.
Yeah.
That kind of relationship.
But the question is, how long is this going to last as far as the coexistence? Because, like with divorced parents, there's a point into the marriage where you coexist, because it's not just like a spur of the moment, we need a divorce, right?
Right.
So, where in this situation for the girl and her 2-year-old son and the ex boyfriend, where is that point? Because I can only assume that, as nice as he's being, there is a limit to where he's gonna be. All right, it's been 8 years. I love my son to death, but you are still single and you are not doing anything.
Well, I mean, it could even be like, because she's got a boyfriend right now.
Yeah.
For all we know, she could be engaged by next year.
True.
And he could still be doing, he may not necessarily be fixing, things like that, or if her boyfriend needs help, he may go over and help that way. Yeah. I feel like he won't be, this in depth, to this extent, but like if she runs out of gas and she can't get a hold of anybody else, he's on her to call list, things like that, or that, like he's take his son on with less than 10 minutes notice.
Yeah.
Things like that. Maybe the boyfriend has a big job, and this guy kind of can work from home.
Yeah, true.
We don't know the situation.
It's true.
And I don't think that they're just coexisting. I think that they're actually, that they do have some form of relationship. It is just not a...
It's not a actual relationship.
It's a friendship.
Yeah.
It's a very, like, they're best friends. And I've heard of this before.
Yeah.
People who get divorced or separate, and they become best friends, and they stay that way.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I feel like there might be a point when, maybe when his son's, graduates and goes off to school, and he's like, okay, well, I've helped you this far.
Yeah.
And I'll still be, on your to-call list, but I'm not going to come over and fix things for you anymore. I'm not, like...
Yeah, this was for my son. This wasn't for you.
Right. Or for all we know, it could be, she broke things off. He still got a thing for her, and he's just doing this because he has feelings for both of them. Again, we're kind of just outsiders sitting here jaw-jacking about
jaw-jacking?
What our opinions are.
That's a bad mental image. It's
oh my
very
God.
bad mental image.
Anyway. Continuing on.
Yeah?
I had a brain fart.
Continue. Aaron?
It's okay, Aaron. Just press the button.
I'm not... press what button? No, anyway. So I think this may be a new kind of form of relationship.
Yeah, I think with the way that our culture has evolved in the past, like, decade or two or three, Yeah, it's some people look at and think it's ridiculous, but at the same time, this provides our society an opportunity to grow in unexpected ways.
You know what else presents our opportunity, or our... Say that again.
Our opportunity to grow in unexpected ways?
You know what it does?
What?
Welcome to
The multiverse.
Yes, it does. Mark's multiverse definitely does help us grow in unexpected ways. Oh, wait, that didn't sound wrong at all.
No, not in the slightest.
Anyway, continue on.
Okay, so...
I want to hear about war on
This
the
segment
war
brought
on
to you
global
by
warming.
Extends.
Well, the first topic on Mark's multiverse, this isn't exactly a happy topic. This is about our world and how we are failing it. Reducing pollution and curbing overfishing won't prevent the severe bleaching that is killing coral at catastrophic rates, according to a study of Australia's Great Barrier Reef. In the end, researchers say the only way to save the world's coral from heat-induced bleaching is with the war on global warming.
I thought it wasn't called global warming anymore. I thought it was called climate change.
Global
PC.
warming is a faction of climate change.
No.
Climate change is broken up into
They,
numerous...
they renamed it
It is
because everybody
classified
thought
as-
that the world was going to heat up when in factually it's the climate is literally changing. North and South Pole are melting and other areas are getting, colder.
Climate change is a broad term. Global warming is kind of like a subsection of that. You got your global cooling, you got global warming, you got all kinds of global everything. It's all classified as climate change.
All right.
Okay, fine, fair enough.
Never-
So anyways, scientists are quick to note that local protection of reefs can help damaged coral recover from the stress of rising ocean temperatures. But the new research shows that such efforts are ultimately futile when it comes to stopping bleaching in the first place. We don't have any tools to climate-proof corals, and that's a bit sobering. We can't stop bleaching locally. We
You
actually
just
have
stop pouring bleach in.
we actually have to do something about climate change.
Clorox needs to be put out of business.
Right.
That's all I know.
Right.
No, because my socks get white with Clorox.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Your socks are not as important as the environment.
No,
Aaron.
your socks aren't white because of Clorox.
Anyways, across the world, scores of brilliantly colored coral reefs, once teeming with life, have in recent years become desolate white graveyards. Their deaths due to coral bleaching have grown more frequent as ocean temperatures rise, mainly due to increasing greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. The warmer water stresses corals, forcing them to expel the colorful algae living inside them, which leaves the corals vulnerable to disease and death. Given enough time, bleached coral can recover if the water cools, but if the temperature stays too high for too long, the coral will die. Preserving coral reefs is crucial, given we depend on them for everything from food to medical research to protection from damaging coastal storms. Scientists and policymakers have thus been scrambling to find ways to prevent bleaching. Last year, for example, Hawaiian officials proposed several measures they hoped would fight bleaching on the state's reefs, such as limiting fishing, establishing new marine protected areas, and controlling polluted runoff from land. The question was whether such efforts could provide the corals any resistance to bleaching, or just help them recover, even. The researchers conducted aerial and underwater surveys of the Great Barrier Reef, which has experienced 3 major bleaching events, the worst of which occurred last year. The scientists found that the severity of the bleaching was tightly linked to how warm the water was. In the north, which experienced the hottest temperatures, hundreds of individual reefs suffered severe bleaching in 2016, regardless of whether the water quality was good or bad, or whether fishing had been banned. That means even the most pristine parts of the reef are just as prone to heat stress as those that are less protected. Prior to exposure to bleaching also did not appear to provide any protective benefit to the coral. The scientists found that the reefs that are highly bleached during the first 2 events in 1998 and 2002 did not experience less severe bleaching than last year. Ultimately, the study concluded saving reefs from the ravages of bleaching requires urgent action to reduce global warming. The study shows that older ways of thinking about reef management, such as reducing river runoff, are now moot points when it comes to preventing bleaching. The research also illustrated in the gravity of the situation facing the 1,400-mile Great Barrier Reef. The team found 91% of the reef has been bleached at least once during the 3 bleaching events. Even more alarming is that the 4th bleaching event is already underway. Corals need years to recover from bleaching, so back-to-back events increase the possibility that the bleached coral will die. This is the first time that the Great Barrier Reef has not had a few years between the events to recover. For the second consecutive year, mass coral bleaching is devastating the Great Barrier Reef. The study shows reef. The study shows that the very intense coral bleaching events are no longer isolated and are happening more regularly. That assertion has been further bolstered by the Great Barrier Reef's latest bleaching event, which began a few weeks ago and which Baum says has stunned scientists. In 2015, UNESCO placed the Great Barrier Reef on its watch list due to concerns about the Australian government's handling on the site.
It's very fascinating.
We're losing our reefs.
Yes, we are.
It's part of our.
I'm losing my attention span.
It's a significant part of our marine environment, which some people might not even realize is a majority of our world.
I think they do now because of Finding Nemo and Finding Dory.
Exactly.
Either way,
because of Sigourney Weaver. I think we need to take the Futurama approach to this.
A what?
The Futurama approach to
Are you talking about the giant
freaking ice cubes dropped in the Pacific Ocean every year, every 10 years to help combat? But don't we need more ice? That's science! Leave it alone!
Solving the problem once and for all. But once and for all! I mean, I guess that's one way to look at it humorously.
So, I guess I'm missing what exactly is bleaching, because it's obviously not dumping bleach into the ocean.
Obviously it's not.
It is the loss of color to the coral.
Okay.
Coral!
Coral!
Due to the heat stress that it gets from higher temperature waters.
You see, what gives the coral its color is the life that is sustained by the coral. There's algae and...
So now would it be possible if the temperature is changing in other regions or like the temperature of the water is changing in other regions, that it could be growing coral over there?
As opposed to... So you're saying is it reversing where Australia had the perfect temperature for a long time to create such a large reef,
right?
And now is the
that kind of moved somewhere else?
Is it moving? It possibly, I would think.
I mean, should we really be looking at, okay, this is no longer a suitable spot for a coral reef? Could we maybe, and I don't know if this is a thing, but could we take some of that and kind of transplant it into an area where it will survive?
Well, first of all, you can't really transplant, or you can't really move coral. That such a process would, first of all, damage it greatly. It would put it under such great stress that it would probably die anyways.
Yeah.
Right.
Coral is a very, very delicate. It's
organism.
Living. Coral is a living organism, and it's extremely delicate. It requires very selective temperatures to survive, and with global warming or climate change, however you like to word it, what it's causing to do is it's literally warming our planet, and it's warming the entire planet. It's not getting colder anywhere else. It's only getting warmer. I mean, it's causing our coral to, the stress of the heat is causing it to expel all the organisms, which is effectively killing it. And on top of that, the increase in the temperature is also melting our ice caps, which is also going to in turn raise the sea level. And really, it's all this climate change. It's causing a lot of adverse effects that a lot of people don't even realize. There's going to be unforeseen effects on our planet that even we couldn't predict.
So how does I guess I'm trying to figure out
the significance of coral, Aaron, is that it not only is it
No, I know it has a lot of significance. A lot of different species of fish use it to live under, like I mentioned jokingly, but kind of seriously, Finding Nemo.
Yeah,
that is actually a thing. They do live in coral reefs, and they use them as shelters and things like that. But I guess my question is there a way, like, would it be growing somewhere else? Should we start looking, like I said, at least checking the temperatures to see if maybe it's starting to grow somewhere else? Because I don't know what started it to grow in the first place. You said the temperatures, and like, what is it made? Is it made of just sand that, because it's in this perfect condition, just started growing?
That is actually something I'm not 100% sure. The formation of coral is not something that I've intensely researched.
Because it had to, well, my thought process behind it is, okay, yes, we're losing it where it's been for years.
Mm-hmm.
But, like all things, they've got to come to an end sooner or later. In that area, it may be moving to a different area or somehow
Maybe
growing somewhere else because the conditions
You're
have
suggesting
changed.
that the temperature range is simply moving further south or further north.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose...
Because the whole theory behind climate change as a whole is the fact that, and this is the reason that they kind of put global warming under this umbrella, if you will, is because everybody, climate or global warming, the planet's warming up. That's not necessarily what's happening. What's happening is the parts that were used to being,
Warm.
cold,
Yeah.
are warming up, and the parts that were, Michigan.
You're basically suggesting that the
temperatures are changing in different spots.
The temperature scale that would be ideal for coral is simply moving.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Michigan. I mean, a few years ago we had an ice storm that, the head of all ice storms.
You see?
And this year we barely had any snow. And if we get snow, it's getting later and later and later.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I see where you're going with this, and I get it, and I could see where that's an interesting theory.
Right.
But at the time, there's also the you have to factor in that the climate is possibly changing. Yeah, it could keep moving, but coral takes years and years and years to form or recover from such events. So I mean, by the time that coral could even start to generate in ideal temporal zone for it to grow. That zone could already be changing somewhere else, and then the coral there is going to die off. Coral takes a long time to form.
Can I point out one thing?
Yes.
I do. You both have very good points. But this kind of seems to me kind of like what's going on with a lot of animals in Africa. Specifically, a lot of people talk about lions and rhinos, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're dying out. And some of it is due to poaching.
Right.
A good portion is due to poaching. But for lions, the big thing is not human beings. It's not, encroaching on space. They have a lot of place, especially in places like Kenya and Tanzania, where you have the Serengeti, right? Serengeti National Park.
Right.
But it's other lions.
Oh, yeah.
It's male lions eating...
Other male
cubs, eating cubs, eating other males, other females.
Cannibalism.
Yeah, just killing so that their genes continue, right?
Yeah, dominance.
But
it would be kind of like a purebred dog eating a different type of purebred dog.
Be like a Doberman eating a wiener dog.
Right.
But what my point is, saying all that, is for humans, we love the place we live in, rightly so. It was given to us,
right.
And we got to take care of it. But we have... In the history of humankind, we have tried to stop extinctions simply because we like those animals.
Right.
And it's not, and sometimes it is through fault of our own, and we need to own up to that. Like with Tasmanian devils, or Tasmanian tigers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hunted to extinction.
Right.
Completely and totally hunted to extinction once settlers found, or once people voyaged to Australia and said,
colonized.
oh, hey, yeah, colonized, excuse me, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And said, oh, hey, this looks cool, bang, right?
Essentially.
Yeah.
And we need to own up to that. But at the same time, we try to save things sometimes that just,
it's their time.
It's their time to go.
Well, and coming from that perspective, if this has been going on for quite a while, the fish that, do live in these coral reefs and things like that, anemones and all that, what if they're evolving like a lot of animals do to live somewhere else because they see what's going, like fish aren't really dumb, like they have certain instincts, just like all animals do.
Except for goldfish.
Goldfish
are borderline just brain dead.
Basically,
anyway,
you're
I'm saying they may be evolving to where coral...
Where they don't need coral.
Exactly.
You're presenting the possibility of adaptation within nature, which is a natural course of action. Either you adapt to survive, or you don't.
Right.
And then you die off. And of course that's going to happen. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of parts of climate change that are happening due to human action, and then there's also parts of climate change that are not
happening naturally.
Yes, that are happening naturally. The Earth goes through natural periods of warming and cooling. And naturally, species are going to die off or come into existence.
Right.
And that's why you have not say all the time, but a lot, you get scientists, we discovered a brand new species
Every day.
of whatever it is. Like there was a place in like the Congo that was just, even by satellites, really dense, couldn't see through it, didn't know what was going on there, and it was on top of like a mountaintop kind of thing.
Right.
They found a new species of ape that no one had knew existed because it lived in the trees, and they were there wasn't a lot of them, it wasn't like a ton, but it was a new species. This isn't a new thing either. It's kind of old by now, but it was a new species of ape that they didn't know existed because no one had literally just walked through the jungle.
Well,
Rightly so, because the Congo is a scary place.
Well,
Right.
I mean, that's the case with a lot of rainforests. There's a lot of rainforests, apart from, the ocean being largely unexplored on Earth, but the second most unexplored place on our planet are rainforests, because they're so dense, they're so dangerous, that it's a human being literally cannot survive in such a place, because there's so many factors about such an area that do not promote our survival.
Because no one wants to be eaten by a plant.
Or
I'm okay with being eaten by a tiger. I don't want to be eaten by a plant.
Me either.
or have a tiny little caterpillar simply land on you and it causes you to seize and die.
Or be like the Amazon, where you have those little fish that swim through your urethra and kill you.
Well, they don't kill you. They just simply grow and grow inside your liver until you die.
At least it's not growing somewhere else.
Right.
Or is it your bladder? I think it is your bladder.
No, anyway.
Either way, it's painful.
Right. No, but I think what's going on is because I don't think we have a way to tell whether it's us that's doing all of this or whether it's naturally happening.
Obviously, some of it is going to be natural effect.
Right. For all we know, it could be coral could kind of have run its course, and like I said, the fish could be adapting to not having it and using something else, and it could be on its natural cycle. The problem
they'll die off.
The problem that I have is everything is blamed on climate change, on global, because of us.
Yeah.
And like you made a very good point. We are owning up to a lot of the species that we have killed off. And that's why we have the endangered species list and things like that. But we also make sure that certain populations don't get overpopulated. Like a lot of people are against hunting, okay?
Yeah.
Well, if you look at it this way, we have so many deer that are born each year.
In Michigan, there's way too many.
We
why
literally have to regulate it.
Yeah.
Well, and there's actually a group, it's called the QDMA, and that's what they do. They're the ones that take, how many, they pretty much do the math and say, okay, this is how many hunting permits we can put out, or how many doe tags and buck tags we can put out this year. This will regulate the population to a good number to where they're not inbreeding themselves.
Or eating so much that they don't have enough to survive.
Yeah, killing off the vegetation, and therefore too large numbers and not enough food, they'll just starve off.
Like my girlfriend's dad, okay? So he owns 80 acres up in the middle of nowhere, and he grooms it for deer hunting. So he plants food plots. He tries to create little water
little ponds
and stuff around the
Hot
property.
zones.
So then that way it attracts the deer. Now there's a section in his property right in the center where all the deer live. That's where they live. He doesn't go in there. He doesn't mess with it. He doesn't put anything in there.
Yeah.
That's their safe zone.
Yeah.
And every year, because of the QDMA and things like that, we have a certain point system. A lot of people are like, up by him, you can only shoot, I think it's a 6-point now.
Yeah.
Okay? That was his standard before. Is he would not shoot any, or he was higher than the minimum standard.
Yeah.
And so then they moved up to, I think they moved to 6 or 8 points. So he won't shoot anything higher than, or anything lower than his own standard.
Yeah.
And so what he's essentially doing is he's maintaining a herd in the middle of his property. And,
which is actually really smart and clever.
And he's taking out the eldest deer in the pack, which allows the next eldest to move up.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of take control, and then the next year same thing, and in that sense he
turned deer hunting into a science of regulation.
He didn't do it. He just discovered that that's how people did it.
Yeah.
These are things that have been going on for years and just not publicized.
Right.
Like a lot of people think that there's people who hunt for trophy.
Yeah.
There are some people who do that.
Yeah.
And there are some people who hunt for trophy but don't waste the meat. They'll still get it processed and they'll give it to people.
Yeah.
Because there's a guy that I work with and he hunts just for a trophy pretty much. He doesn't take does because he doesn't want the meat. He's had enough meat. Like he'll take one doe and he'll have enough meat for the entire year.
Yeah.
But he pretty much trophy hunts now. But
Mhm.
it's not that he just takes the horns and leaves.
Yeah.
He still processes the deer and he'll give you just kind of pass it around and share it with people.
Yeah. Which isn't necessarily even trophy hunting. He wants the prize, but he's at least using the rest of the animal.
Well, because
that's
it's
shot.
morally wrong to just leave it there.
Yeah, and that's I think that's when people say trophy hunting, they mean the people that are just like, yeah, I just wanted the head. And
that's the difference. That's almost
at
like
that
the difference
point, it's
between
like
hunting.
poaching.
Hey, I was about to say that's like the difference between hunting and poaching.
I mean, it's kind of the same thing with elephant. People poach elephants for their tusks.
Yeah.
They're not going to do anything with the rest of the elephant.
Which,
they just want the tusks.
Which one of the steps that I think China is doing is they manufacture like a synthesized ivory. It's almost completely identical. You can't even tell the difference. And basically they started mass distributing that through the black market. So basically it significantly brought down the ivory because you don't know what you have is real or not.
Right.
And not to mention on top of that, the real ivory that they are finding, they're literally burning it in piles.
Well, and a lot of people, because piano keys used to be made out of ivory.
Yeah.
And I think they've since gone to more of like a plastic or.
Yeah, they have.
And so that kind of cut down on it a lot too, because you had all these big
external uses that you don't need it for.
Right, like you really don't need ivory keys.
It's like commodity versus necessity.
You can have plastic or like a type of a glass key.
Yeah.
That would work just as well, and then you still get to have elephants.
Yeah. Well, there's I think one of the things that the African nations did when it came to conservation for rhinos is they started spray painting the horns this weird kind of pink substance. And it doesn't hurt the rhinos, it's non-toxic, it doesn't hurt them at all.
Right.
But it stains the ivory.
Yeah.
So like deep into it. So it's not just like a surface level where you like just like zzz, and like shave it off.
So then that way, if they go and look at the rhino, it's stained. It's not the ivory color.
Yeah,
they basically feel it's worth.
Right.
Yeah.
Devalue.
It's no longer worth the giant horn that's sitting on top of its nose because that horn is now pink for several layers of that.
But it's still useful and doesn't harm the.
It's useful to the rhino, just not to anyone else.
Exactly.
They devalue it.
Right.
Which is actually pretty smart as well. Except that the fact that I know that I think last year we actually had a type of rhino that went, officially extinct.
The white rhino, yeah.
Anyways, moving on. I'm gonna take us into our next story because here it is. We only have a half hour left and we haven't even touched Movie Madness Monday yet. So I'm gonna get us through these other two stories, or maybe I don't know. We'll see. We'll play it by ear. Anyways, so this next one is kind of interesting. It's talking about how the brain could be 10 times more active than scientists had originally thought.
So limitless.
Kind of. New research could challenge scientists' fundamental conception of how the brain works, perhaps paving the way to new treatments for mysterious neurological diseases. This is, I believe, it's more helpful in terms of research than actual superpowers, Aaron.
It's not a superpower. He takes a pill that makes him be able to use 100% of his brain rather than 90% of his brain.
Okay. Anyways, the study from the University of California, Los Angeles, published in the journal Science, takes a closer look at functioning of neurons, the nerve cells of the brain. Neurons are large tree-like structures made up of a body called a soma, as well as branches called dendrites. For years, scientists have believed that somas generate electrical pulses or spikes between each other, and the dendrites primarily exist as passive vehicles that move those spikes along. This process forms the basis for how we make and store memories, how we learn, and how we perceive reality, and more. The brain contains about 100 billion neurons, but the UCLA study could append that understanding and reveal a bigger role of dendrites in thinking and forming memories. The team let laboratory rats roam freely in a maze while measuring their dendrite activity with electrodes, using a newly developed technique that placed the electrodes near but not in the dendrites themselves. They found that the rats' dendrites were extremely active during periods of free movement. Not only do they generate their own spikes, but dendrites generate nearly 10 times more spikes than somas. And rather than passively transmitting spikes from neuron cell bodies, they appear to make their own decisions regarding electrical pulses that stem from somas. In short, dendrites do much more than play a second fiddle to somas. The research, by deepening scientists' understanding of the brain's nerve cells, could lead to new insights on neurological diseases that afflict those cells. Specifically, doctors may now look more closely at dendrite activity among patients with devastating neurological disorders, from Parkinson's to Alzheimer's to Huntington's disease. That's a very high chance it's actually the dendrites talking, not the cell body, which was a whole different language, and that's tremendous implications for the diagnosis of diseases. That's a new language of the brain that we've never, ever studied before. So essentially, it's not so much helping us access more of the brain, it's helping us understand the brain and how we can protect it more.
Yeah.
Okay.
How better understand how it works, how it functions, that kind of thing.
See, and it's funny. It kind of goes back to the depths of the oceans that we can't discover, the depths of the deep wooded areas that we can't discover. The brain is so complex that we're still trying to figure out, and we're trying to understand how it works.
It's like trying to understand the complexities of the human soul.
Well, the human brain is still not completely understood.
No.
It is a very complex mystery.
Yeah. Because you even have scientists who have spent years studying
lifetimes.
There's no specific section. There's no specific area that controls one specific thing. Obviously, there's a general area.
Right.
Like
it's kind of like, okay, well, the left side of the brain controls the right side of your body, and the
right
vice
side
versa.
controls the left, and then you have.
But you don't know exactly where in your brain, in that section, what part of that controls what.
Yeah, or like you have like your prefrontal cortex and your cortex that controls your personality.
We understand what parts
But-
of the brain do. We just don't understand how they do it.
Yeah, and you have general areas that this kind of controls this, or whatever.
But they can't
there's
take
no
it down to the
specific.
exact millimeter of this
No.
specific piece right here controls, when your fingers twitch.
Yeah, and they also the little middle part where your brain connects. I can't remember what that's called. Off the top of my head, yeah, I hate that. But do research for me, Aaron. But they found with a lot of people that usually when you cut that in half, or you cut that in half, or you have to lop part of a brain off because of like a tumor or something. If you lop a portion off that is in control of a certain area, that area usually controls a certain thing, your brain, what remains from it, will take over from what happened there.
Right.
So-
It essentially readapts itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think I've heard that theory before as well. There's a fine line down the center of the brain where it's because the brain has two halves.
Yeah,
And,
two hemispheres. Yep.
Yep, and like each one is different. It's like I think it's like you have one side that's like your logical half, and your other side, which is your creative half.
Which I think is the left is the analytical side, and your right is your artsy side.
Right. It's like it's at the same time. It's like why it might be weird.
You're talking about the thalamus?
No, not the thalamus.
I don't know, but anyways, it's like it's also like the phenomenon where it's like if you're talking on the phone, obviously you're prefer talking in one ear, and then if you're talking to somebody using your other ear on the phone, it's like you can hardly you might not even be able to understand exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
Midbrain?
I can talk to somebody using my right ear on the phone, but
Corpus callosum.
It's right there. I see it.
There we go.
Yep.
You're welcome.
That's the very middle part of your brain that connects your left and right side of your brain.
Mhm. But it's like if I talk to somebody listening with my left ear, it's like I can't even pay attention to the conversation.
No.
It's I don't.
Well,
get how,
it's kind of like they've done studies saying that if you're talking on the phone and drive it, like you cannot multitask. They've actually done studies. I'm trying to remember who. I think it was MythBusters.
Yeah, there have been multiple people where you can't. You say you can multitask, but
No.
it's just your brain
It
going.
was. I think it was Brain Games. There's a
Yes.
show that I watched called
Yep.
Brain Games
That's it.
on Netflix, and they did a test with a guy who said he was the ultimate multitasker. He could talk on the phone and drive, and they did a test with him not talking on the phone and then talking on the phone, and he was severely distracted, more so when he was talking on the phone than not.
right.
And I've seen the episode you're talking about, but the things they also did, they just have him talking, they had things going on, like throwing a giant beach ball in front of the window, having to actually do stuff that you may have to do when driving too.
So like they threw a beach ball out in front of him. They had people shouting as he drove past. There were several variables that they added. And like I said, when he was not talking on the phone, he was able to kind of dodge and
he's able to react to each variable more effectively when he was off the phone.
Pretty much.
Because you really can't multitask. Some people are able just to go back and forth between tasks very
rapidly.
But there's no true thing as multitasking.
Glad I'm not the only one that watches Brain Games.
I love that show.
It's a good show.
It's a really good show.
Either way, it really is amazing, how the brain works. It just every section of it does something different, and it helps us understand life, even though we can't understand it quite yet. And it helps us build reaction to everything that's going on around us, which kind of brings us into our next thing. I think we can talk about our reactions to some of our media in today's culture with...
Madness Monday! Movie Madness Monday!
My favorite track. I think that's my favorite one of all. That was a little story. That was a natural thing that happened on the show.
I think it was episode 29.
With two of my friends.
Yeah.
I think
I literally loved it so much that I just went in and dug through that episode. I found out what episode it was, dug through it, found that clip, put an echo on it, and that's all I did.
Nice.
So, anyway, my favorite. So moving on to Movie Madness Monday. So I've talked to you guys about this a little bit. How ridiculous are some of these sequels that they're doing?
Insane.
Some of them are really ridiculous.
Well, this one is probably the most ridiculous I've ever heard. Granted, it'll be good and I'll watch it anyway, but...
Bias.
Well, the Gladiator movie was good. So they're talking about doing a sequel to the Gladiator movie. Now,
run me up to speed. I did not see the original.
Okay. So the Gladiator
Russell
movie
Crowe
was...
is a gladiator that fights people and he dies.
Not necessarily. He started off as the head of the military.
Isn't it like a Roman thing or something?
It is. He was the head of the military, and I think was he a king that he was serving, or
the emperor?
The emperor that he was serving passed away, which put his eldest son into power, and he hated Russell Crowe's character, whose name was Maximus.
Okay.
Because the father was actually killed, and he was going to leave everything to Maximus. He was going to leave nothing to his son.
Okay.
And so once his son got into power, he pretty much just threw Maximus into slavery.
Yeah.
Oh, that's...
Nobody knew who he was. Well, his family got killed off. And
his son Gludius.
Yes.
Gludius, the son of Maximus.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. Anyway, his son and his wife were killed in front of him. And then he was pretty much forced to be a slave, and nobody knew who he really was. And he pretty much worked up he pretty much turned into a gladiator, and worked all the way up back to the city he was in originally, where he was pretty much the head of the army.
Right.
And the ending scene, if I remember this correctly, because there was some argument in the article that I read. It said that he was killed by lions.
Yeah.
Which I thought he was killed by the sword of the new emperor.
And then was eaten by lions?
I don't think he was ever eaten by lions.
Well, that's a waste.
I no, but I don't remember there being any lions. But in this article, they said that he was eaten by lions.
Okay.
And if you look in the comment section, people are blowing up because they're like, did the guy who wrote this article ever even seen the movie? But anyway, so Russell Crowe's character dies in the end.
Yeah.
So how's there going to be a sequel?
Right.
Because I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, you see him physically die.
Maybe.
Now, if they fade out before he officially dies,
maybe they do something like Superman, where he's just the
but this is
ghostly
supposed
father.
I was gonna say, but this is supposed to be like the Roman, because he wants to bring Maximus back.
Oh, he does?
Yes, essentially is what he wants to do.
How do you even make that work?
Or you know what they could be doing? They might be doing this. It might be like one of those like 2, but it's really 1.5. where they have Russell Crowe's character before he's
No,
dead.
it's not a prequel because he's
I'm not saying a prequel. I'm saying like a midquel. Like
kind of like what Lion King did with Lion King 1.5.
Yeah, like I said, it's a 1.5 thing where it takes place during the original movie, and so you see Russell Crowe character a lot, and they interact with him, but the actual main character is somebody else.
Well, here's what it is. Okay, so Ridley Scott was the director of the first movie, and he announced he had another movie that was going on, and he was at a Comic-Con or something, some form of convention, and he was releasing some photos of his new movie. It was I think it might have been like a Predator movie or an Alien movie or something.
Yeah.
And he had sat down with, I think it was Entertainment Weekly, and hinted that he wanted to do another Gladiator movie. And he said, I know how to bring him back.
Oh, okay, that's good.
I was just having a talk with the studio, but he's dead. There's been a way of bringing him back. Whether it'll happen, I don't know. Gladiator was 2000, so Russell Crowe changed a bit since then. What?
Russell Crowe's changed more than 17 years since he was a gladiator with muscles, and he is now a Frenchman staring out a window as a meme. So he's changed a lot.
Anyway, so he's doing something right now, but I'm trying to get him back down here. So obviously Ridley Scott has some form of plan to do this movie, and he wants to do it with Russell Crowe. I don't know. It's kind of like
not shaping up to sound very good.
It's kind of like the Toy Story 3 idea, or Toy Story 4. I think they should have stopped with 3.
Definitely. Especially since between like 1 and 2 was a while, and then 2 and 3 was a while. But
was it really a while between 1 and 2?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How long was it?
94 was when Toy Story 1 came out. I think 2 came out in like 2003.
Something. Yeah.
Or so.
So it was like 10 years between each one.
Yeah.
It's roughly that. That or maybe like 2001 or something like that. But yeah, there was a considerable
gap
distance between the two.
3
Not as bad as Finding Nemo. But
3 has ended on a note that all the kids who grew up with the movie cried and liked. Well,
and now they're doing 4, which
I
is like
cried.
not even 2 years later.
I cried too.
I thought Woody was going to die.
Me too. Well, I thought they were going to be separated. It was tugging at my heartstrings.
Yeah.
Anyway, but I think a 4 is a bad idea. Now they're doing all these short films, and yeah, those are cool. But I think you need to stop it at 3.
Yeah.
Your original demographic or your original following that you have is happy.
Yeah.
The actors and actresses seem to be happy. Why push it?
Right.
It's kind of like another Cars movie. Cars 1 was awesome. Cars 2
shouldn't have been existed.
Thank you. Cars 2
which
totally
like another movie coming up after this, I have the same feeling about, but we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Speaking of Finding Dory, because you mentioned Finding Nemo. Finding Dory is on Netflix now.
I know.
I
own it too.
Oh,
and I've seen it.
Here's a question: how bad is a movie depending on how quickly it comes out to DVD or Netflix?
Yeah, if it's on Netflix the same time it goes out to DVD,
I'm concerned.
About what?
Like, why buy it if you could just watch it on Netflix?
Yeah, like there were like you can make so much more money on DVD if you just sold the DVD, but I was like,
or Bluetooth, or not Bluetooth, Blu-ray.
Blu-ray, yeah.
Anyway,
regardless.
No, I see what you're saying though. Like, there's all these new movies that are going to. What caught me off guard?
What?
I was kind of happy about it, but then that made me think. Civil War is on Netflix. Captain America: Civil War.
Okay, yeah.
That movie was absolutely amazing, and it's on Netflix. Which if it goes straight to Netflix as soon as it comes out, obviously its sales are going to go down because people can just watch it on Netflix. Granted, I still bought it anyways because I wanted it for my collection.
However, they did wait a little bit until they put it on Netflix.
They did wait a little bit, but
they
still...
They waited long enough.
Doctor Strange is not on Netflix, but it is in Redbox. I saw it in Redbox.
Really?
Today.
In the preservation of sales, and even as a Netflix, customer, I think it's just bad business to put something straight to Netflix or even.
I love when it comes straight to Netflix.
It's nice.
I hate waiting.
Don't get me wrong, it's great, but I mean, as far as a business point of view, I think they should wait at least a year for something to be on disc before they actually put it onto Netflix.
Well, you got to think about it this way
Depends-
too.
It depends on
They're-
how
From a
lucrative-
business
Well, they're
point of
not
view.
losing sales.
From a business point of view.
Think about it this way. How much are they paying, or how much is Netflix paying to have that movie on their streaming service?
or
Yeah,
vice versa, because because there's a lot of things that I don't understand why Netflix would pay for to put on that. Like if you search through Netflix, there is some really crappily done.
Some things may be
I hate
like
it when
people
they
may pay to put on Netflix.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking there's certain movies that, like, they come out with a deal so that they're not losing sales by any means. There's some deal that is reached to where they're not losing sales, and it is still on DVD.
Yeah.
Plus, you do have Hulu that it comes out on.
Yeah.
And they have to pay some form of fee. You've got Redbox who pays for the disc, and probably has to pay for almost every time they rent it.
Yeah.
Then you still have Amazon who you actually still buy it. You don't buy a physical disc, but you buy a digital copy.
Yep.
And then you do have it in stores. So
Right,
I don't think
right.
by any means are they losing money, especially on Netflix, because
The only beef I have with Netflix is when they take stuff that I want to watch off.
Yeah.
Doctor
Well,
Who.
that's part of the thing is that it's a limit, and it might be a limited time thing. You might only see
But really, it's
Civil
all
War or Dory on there for a
it's
minute.
all
Right.
possibly limited. I mean, anything can go on or off Netflix at any time.
Anyway,
Yes.
kind of heading back to the Gladiator.
Yep.
The original Gladiator swept up into about 2001 at the Oscars. It won Best Picture and gave Russell Crowe Best Actor award. However, Ridley Scott did not win Best Director because he lost to Steven Spielberg for Traffic.
Says Soderbergh.
Does it?
Yeah, it's not Spielberg.
My bad.
Soderbergh.
Soderbergh for Traffic. But Gladiator was a hit at the box office. It made 40
$457 million.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I mean, I think it would make money, and I think people would go and see it just to kind of see how.
Like, what are you doing?
Right.
Kind of thing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it could. There is a small chance it could pan out to be, oh, I never thought about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like if he has a way to bring Russell Crowe's character back, there's something that we missed when we watched it, or something that we don't know that allows it to.
Yeah.
That would allow him to bring it back.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
God bless you.
Thank you.
Darn it, I should have said pineapple.
Anyway, so moving on, Mark, what's this other sequel that we're seeing?
All right. Have you guys seen Despicable Me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just have to throw it out there. I just saw the first one for the first time like last week.
Wow.
And
Right.
no, listen.
by the time.
When it was in theaters, it just did not look good to me.
I
It really just did not look.
well, I
impressive.
didn't watch it in theaters. I watched it in DVD
But then I watched it.
a few years ago.
Well, it's like going to a kid's movie as an adult, and you're the only adult in the theater without a child.
Toy Story 3.
It makes you feel awkward.
Toy Story 3.
I went to see Frozen by myself.
I went with my girlfriend.
See,
No, actually, take that back. I went with my best friend. My best friend and I went in, and we were the only two adults in the entire theater.
I went into like a noon matinee,
Oh,
so I didn't have to be with with people and their children, because I just didn't want to be the 6'3", 400-pound
You
bearded
see,
man.
No,
like
you
in
go
the
really
back of
late.
being in the back
You
of
go
the
really
theater.
late, like 11 o'clock or midnight
Yeah.
showing, if they've got one.
Yeah.
And then that way you won't be, because all the kids should be.
You see,
In bed at that point.
one movie that it's like, I don't care who's in the theater, I will go see it. It doesn't matter. I will see it by myself if it comes down to it, which it won't come down to that. I'll always find somebody.
Power Rangers?
No.
Beauty and the Beast?
Nope. How to Train Your Dragon. How to Train Your Dragon is absolutely amazing. It's
I have
probably
not
one of my
seen it.
favorite animated. It's not even a question. How to Train Your Dragon is my most favorite animated film.
It is a good series of films.
I have not
thus
seen it.
far.
Mm-hmm. And
I
I cannot
highly
wait until the
recommend
third
it
one
to
because
you.
I'm absolutely positive they're going to. I hear the TV show leaves a lot to be desired.
It is it's on. There's like 3 different TV shows that are on Netflix. And they suck.
They
Anyway,
suck,
They suck.
kind of
Anyway,
reeling it back in.
but the movies are amazing. Anyways,
Despicable Me, I didn't think that they would come out with a 3. They did 1, they did 2, and they did Minions.
I
And the
didn't
Minion movie was really funny.
I didn't think they would do it too. I did not know there was a Minions movie.
There's a Minions movie? You
Yeah.
didn't know that
You
there's
just
a
said
Minions?
Minions.
I said you didn't know that there's a Minions?
No, I did not.
Dude, that
I was not a
Oh,
follower.
it's a great movie.
Dude, that was on TV. That commercial front, that was on TV all the freaking time.
And it was really good because it was taken from the perspective of the Minions, and it kind of, spoiler alert, brought you to
How they met Gru.
how they met Gru.
You see, I like I said, I didn't even watch the first movie until like a week ago. About a week ago.
Again, wow.
Yeah, no, and you know what? I ate my words. It was a good movie. I'm going to be
2?
watching the second one soon, and now I'm gonna have to watch the Minions, because when the third one goes out, I have reasons.
You
to
won't be
see it.
disappointed by the Minion movie. It was really good. I saw it with work.
Yep.
So I didn't have to feel like the only adult in a movie theater
That's good.
because my company paid to buy, paid for the entire theater. So there was a whole bunch of adults.
Nice.
Nice.
So, although I had one that thought it was a ridiculous movie and kept talking, and I'm like,
Yeah.
shh, I want to see this
I'm
movie.
trying to watch the movie.
So either way, though, here goes. I'll talk a little bit about Despicable Me 3 and what it is. Basically, it says that the best things come in threes, but what about the most despicable? In the latest trailer from the Minion Factory Illumination Entertainment for the third entry in the Despicable Me franchise, we will see the now retired arch-villain Gru meet the long-lost relative, a twin brother named Drew, which means even more fun for Steve Carell, who voices both of them. In their first trailer, we met the ridiculous Balthazar Brat, voiced by Trey Parker, a new baddie with a fashion sense and a haircut to match. Here, much more of the plot is revealed, and it involves Gru's particular home and family life as he finds himself in his old dastardly ways when he crosses paths with his newfound sibling. And all right, there's gonna be Minions a lot. There's gonna be a lot of Minions as well.
It wouldn't be Despicable Me without Minions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But either way, Despicable Me 3 is going to come into theaters on June 3rd.
I actually did remember seeing the trailer, and it does look pretty decent.
It looks
It
decent.
looked like Groot kind of turned into like a
softie.
pretty much.
It was a superhero.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, that's what happened in 2, kind of.
Well, hang on. First of all,
well, he didn't really join. At that point, now it's like he's going on missions with his new wife
I was
because they got
about to
married.
say, yeah, doesn't he like get a wife in the second one?
He
Yes.
does.
Spoilers. I haven't seen the second one yet.
Okay.
But either way, it's fine. They pretty much revealed that in the trailers for that movie alone as it is.
Right. Anyway, no, but the trailer for the new one, it was really funny because the villain was like an 80s villain. It was really funny. I will try to remember to post a link to that video on our Facebook page because I do remember seeing that, and it does look pretty good. But we are running out of time, so we do need to kind of wrap it up. Any
Yeah.
final thoughts?
Yeah, I just simply put, I liked 2. I didn't think they needed 2, but it was all right. And hopefully 3 doesn't ruin it like 3 sometimes tend to do.
I think 3 might be good.
Especially with a spin-off already out there.
See, because with Hangover 2, we knew it was going to be bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
What,
the
like-
only
You didn't
Hangover
know-
2
Oh,
is...
no.
You didn't know it was going to be bad until you saw it. You're like, this is Hangover.
Right. Like
And then Hangover 3. This is Hangover.
They should have put Hangover 3. No, Hangover 3 was different because it extended on the storyline of 1. So they should have made 3, 2, and then just did a 2-part series. Been done.
True. Anyway.
Final thoughts, Mark?
Either way, I gotta watch Despicable Me 2 now, and now I'm gonna have to watch Minions because I do have intentions of seeing Despicable Me 3 in theaters.
And maybe we should all go together.
We'll see.
Huzzah. Okay. Another remake that they're doing, and it is not a movie. Well, it's going to be a movie. It wasn't a movie originally. Is Baywatch. Baywatch is back. David Hasselhoff is not. It is going to be with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Hasselhoff's too busy eating burgers off the floor to start.
And so it's going to have The Rock and who's the other guy?
Zac Efron.
Zac Efron.
Zac Efron. Thank you.
I mean,
The
I'm
not
not
so-
even
the not
surprised
so
there.
teenage heartthrob.
It has been recently released that the Baywatch movie may be rated R. This is going to be due to language, cruel sexual content, and graphic nudity.
Crude sexual content, not
My-
cruel.
Crude.
Because
My bad.
that turns into Hellraiser.
Uh,
And you
Anyway.
don't need that.
No, so it's a reboot of the 1989 series Baywatch, which starred David Hasselhoff and Pam Anderson. And according to Screen Rant, like I said, it's going to be rated R. The original series was actually kind of racy.
Was it? I never saw. I think it's just.
Well, it was in 89.
Racy for 89, basically.
Right. What it was girls
bikini.
It was girls in one piece bikinis running in slow motion. Was kind of the most made fun of part of the show. It was in the beginning sequence they had like a slow motion run
I feel like that's most what anybody remembers about that show.
down the beach.
It's the jiggle factor.
Yes.
That's why.
Right.
That's why the thing did good.
And it had Pam Anderson.
Jiggle factor.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, porn star.
Yeah, basically.
Right. Anyway, no, but it did have
Thank
some
you,
very
Tommy
good
Lee.
life lessons. I used to watch Baywatch all the time. It had like it was like a 90s show. It had life
Give
lessons.
me one life lesson from that show.
Do you remember the last time I watched Baywatch?
Don't swim 30 minutes after you eat.
No, I mean it followed the life of David Hasselhoff's character, and it had his son in it, and he was separated. So it just had like life lessons, kind of like Hey Arnold. Hey Arnold used to have a lot of life lessons in it.
I feel like Hey Arnold had more lessons.
I didn't want to see Helga in a one piece though. I didn't want to see Helga to begin with most episodes. I just didn't want to see her in a swimsuit.
No, but what I'm saying is, it still can have life lessons,
True.
and it still is, yes, essentially about a beach.
A beach.
But
Three beaches.
3 beaches.
But you are going.
Ah!
But you are going into the lives of the different people who are the lifeguards at
I
this.
feel like
beach.
Baywatch was the Jersey Shore of the 80s.
It was better than
Well,
Jersey
there is no Snooki like Snooki.
Shore. Right.
No.
So there's that part.
What
No.
about Pam Anderson?
That is a whole nother beast.
I mean, she took it into... Never mind. I'm
Anyway,
not gonna...
no, but if you,
She
Mark-
rode that into a very different kind
Oh,
of
she
career.
wrote it.
I think if you watch the original series, you it had kind of like a Full House, Boy Meets World kind of vibe.
Yeah.
But yes, it did have Pam Anderson and a jiggle factor.
Jiggle factor.
Yeah, jiggle fact.
But no, anyway. So apparently the new one's going to be rated R, and the original trailer didn't really do that. It didn't really kind of looked like it was going to be like a PG-13 movie.
Yeah.
I guess the new trailer that's about to come out, it's allegedly going to deliver more of the content that it's going to show you that it's going to be more. I don't want to say vulgar, but more sexually
naughty.
explicit.
It sounds like
Naughty.
it's going to be more like a
Bad Grandpa.
a crude like a bad grandpa, crude comedy.
Bad Grandpa with one of the same actors.
Yeah.
Who?
Or sorry, Dirty Grandpa.
Zac Efron.
Oh,
the
Dirty
not so
Grandpa.
teenage heartforth.
Well, bad grandpa is
Right. I
Naughty
forgot about
Grandpa was a really good one too. Have you seen Neighbors too?
I have not even seen Neighbors.
Oh, you have to see them. They're great. They have Zac
Neighbors
Efron.
is good,
Yeah.
and
Neighbors 2 pretty much the whole movie was just a joke of Zac Efron being a not so teenage heartthrob. Him
There you
being
go.
older now and having to grow up, but he doesn't want to grow up kind of thing. Like
What do you
literally
mean?
Neighbors 2 is almost centered around that. It's great.
Okay.
anyway, so they're doing a sequel, or they're doing a kind of a reboot. I'm
Yeah.
kind of excited. I mean, it doesn't look like it's going to be the same exact as the series. They're going to kind of bring off their own spin. It looks really funny.
You need to because it's hard to replicate that cast with the people you already selected as the new cast.
Well, like I said, I mean, The Rock is the new David Hasselhoff, and I don't care how hard you try. David Hasselhoff will never be as fit as The Rock.
No, it's not compares.
So that's
That'd
why
be funny
he
to see him try.
Anyway, at one point he was very fit. He's not anymore, but at one point
But he was
fit.
never Dwayne the Rock Johnson.
No, he was not.
No, he's not.
Which brings us on to our next topic, which is
Every time we talk about this, it starts with the music.
It's
Every
the song. It's a New Year. It's the song.
it's the
Hey,
song.
let's all this time. I can't handle it.
Okay.
Granted, I do have to see the original because I've never seen the original.
What?
Hey, let's all
I have not. You know this. Anyways,
It's still just as shocking as the first time I found it out.
Anyways, listen though, if it makes you feel better,
Do
I
you
have.
wipe your butt with sandpaper? Because it's basically the kind of person I think you are right now. You're just insane.
Anyways, no, I have to watch the original, and basically, everybody's telling me that I'm gonna have to go see the new one in theaters. So.
Oh, I'm going.
I know you're going.
I am going to see
drop
it. My girlfriend went and saw it without me.
Every time he talks about it, he plays this music.
I'm sure. I don't. We were listening.
We were listening to the new one with John Legend and
Ariana Grande.
Ariana Grande.
Like Aaron said before, we interned together, so we were listening to this in between segments of the show earlier this morning.
And we were like we were geeking out on it.
Because it's good. It is good. Howard John Legend is no Peebo Bryson, and I will say that to the end of my life. He ain't no Peebo.
But no, anyway. So Beauty and the Beast broke all form of box office records.
Did it?
Yeah.
Indeed,
Not even surprised.
It
Go ahead, go through it.
So
Tell
Beauty
me
and the
more.
Beast was released Friday.
Okay.
The movie made $170 million in the first 3 days.
How much did it cost to make?
Did I put that in there?
I don't. No, here. Let me
You go ahead and continue.
You research. Okay.
Yeah.
So it made that much. Beauty and the Beast also became the 7th highest debut ever domestically, narrowly beating Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, which grossed $169.1 million back in 2011. And Disney's 2017.
It's off to a rousing start.
Thank you.
Yeah, basically.
The second highest movie right now is Kong. And
I have to see that. I hear it is phenomenally better than the other ones.
It's another King Kong movie. I'm done with King Kong.
No, really. I heard this one's actually really good. I heard it leaves Jack Black's King Kong in the dust.
Well, that King Kong was in the dust already.
Pretty much.
That's the issue.
Anyway,
I think the best part of that movie, actually, I think the only good part of that movie was when he broke the dinosaur's jaw and was just playing with it.
It was awesome.
That was the best part. He's just playing and flapping it.
No, anyway. And then that came in with 28.8 million, and then Logan, which actually this did surprise me. Logan came in third place with 17.5 million.
But the thing is, Logan's been in theaters for probably a month or so now. So if you hadn't
it's on its run.
I wonder
if you hadn't seen Logan yet, then that's why you went.
I wonder if this
week.
is comparing it to its first weekend.
Oh, I hope not.
Oh man,
Me too.
17.5 million is not a lot.
No, but so to clarify, the budget for this Beauty and the Beast is 160 million.
And in its first 3 days, it paid for itself plus 10 million.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Closer to 20 million than.
Not to mention the fact
million.
that I'm pretty sure that the theaters are still selling out.
Oh yeah.
Even during the week.
Oh good, that means I have time to watch the first one.
You can wait a little bit.
I got a lot of movies that I gotta watch.
In its first weekend, it is more than paid for itself. And like I said, that's just the first 3 days. You've still got, weeks of money that's going to be made. So everything from here on out is profit.
And most likely, this is going to be one of those movies where you go back and watch. You go back to the theaters to see it again.
Everybody that has seen that movie
Yeah.
has said that they will go back and see it again. It was that good.
Mm-hmm.
I have not heard a bad critic review.
Mm-hmm.
I have not. I have heard.
Well, here's the thing with Emma Watson in it, and it being a Disney movie, you will not hear a bad critic review until 5 years down the road when someone's like, "Was this movie really as good as we think it was?" Because right now you're never
Right
gonna
now
hear.
I feel like just the first couple days it was just running off of pure hype alone.
Yeah.
Well, but and
And anybody who loves Disney is going to love it, and anybody who loves Emma Watson is going to love it.
Let's be
Not
honest.
necessarily. I'm very critical when it comes to certain movies.
And I am too. But when it's Beauty and the Beast, when it's a childhood thing, because that's the big thing for most people now that are going to see
The childhood factor.
It's a childhood factor, and the parents of those people that
watch it with them as kids.
Yeah, they're gonna be like, oh, I remember this scene when you cried. when you were a child to this scene. It's
You
like,
know what?
oh,
It's like with Toy
great,
Story
thanks.
1, I'm pretty sure that's the earliest memory of my life going to see it at like 1 year old. Because it came out in
I wasn't
94.
even one. My parents took me to see the movie.
It came out
I was
in
a
what? You
baby.
said it came out in 94?
I was a
Yeah.
baby.
I was born in 93. So literally, I had to be maybe 1 year old. I
Me
remember
too.
going to see it. And
I don't remember going to see it, but I remember it was one of my favorite movies.
I think
Yeah.
Toy Story 1 is maybe
and then
my...
Tarzan came along, and that kind of took its place.
Yep.
I think Toy Story 1 is probably my youngest memory of life.
My two favorite soundtracks, kind of from my childhood, are Beauty and the Beast
And
Yeah.
You Got a Friend in Me?
and
Aladdin.
Tarzan. I really love the Tarzan
Yeah.
soundtrack.
It's a good
Phil
one.
Collins did an awesome job with that.
Here's the
It's a good
interesting
one.
thing.
Yeah, that's right. It was Phil Collins, wasn't
It was Phil Collins
You look at
and Mark something.
I still remember that night when we did that drinking game with Tarzan. That was a good night.
It was a great night.
what was the drinking game?
Basically,
There's
anytime he
rules,
swung
like-
on a vine, anytime he did the jungle yell, anytime anybody got angry, and there was one or two other rules that we would have to take a drink every time.
How were you not trashed from just those three to begin with?
Oh, he was.
No, we were. We were
Oh, we
all
were gone.
trashed.
No, the Tarzan drinking game's worse.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Or not the Tarzan, the Hercules.
Oh,
We couldn't find Hercules. We were originally going to.
Hercules.
The-
Hercules.
The Hercules drinking game is anytime Meg sways her luscious hips, anytime
Oh,
Pain and
jeez.
Panic are in pain or panicking, every time Hades pops on screen, like even if he flashes away and flashes back.
So that's gotta
God
be
bless
hell
you,
for the
God
music.
bless you, James Woods.
That's right, James Woods. Oh my God.
Anyway.
I forgot. Oh.
No,
wow.
so back to Beauty and the Beast. I was actually kind of skeptical when I heard who they cast as Lumiere. When I heard his accent,
Why would you be?
Bonjour.
because
So-
it's a crappy.
Is it a crappy French accent?
It's very
It
crappy.
is no good.
Well, okay, it proved better in the movie than it did in the original trailer.
Okay.
Because in the trailer, I don't know if it was a phrase that he was saying.
Wait, did you see it?
I saw the trailer,
Oh, okay.
and I've seen clips
So
of the
he is
movie.
basing his whole entire opinion of Lumiere on merely a trailer.
And clips that I have seen of the movie.
That is the true French way. Judging something based on nothing.
No, anyway. No, but I'm not judging that it's going to be bad. I'm saying that from the clips of the movie that I have seen, from
Yeah.
the trailers that have come out since, it has gotten better.
Mhm.
But from the original trailer, like I said, I don't know if it was a phrase or whether it was the very first scene that they shot. There was something about it that I'm like,
Was it because of the Beast?
no.
Because I was honestly, because I've seen pictures of the Beast from the movie,
I like.
I wanted him to be hairier. I wanted
No,
him,
I think-
wanted him to be more like
A
the
beast.
dog we talked about earlier. I wanted him to be like the Tibetan
You
Mastiff.
wanted a Tibetan
I-
Mastiff beast?
I think they kind of took the original Disney drawing
Yeah.
and
Brought it to life.
Not really, because he's
The-
got like
he's got
satanic goat horns.
he does,
The
but
original one or the new one?
The new one.
the new one. But I think it's better than the two little spikes, because in the original movie, you had two little tiny spikes.
Yeah, he looked like a buffalo.
He
Kind
did.
of.
He looked kind of like a buffalo in the
And so I think they kind of have like the
Buffalo.
face is kind of the same,
Yeah.
and they just added kind of more like scarier horns onto him rather than the
So they made him.
so he
they
doesn't
made
look
him
like a
less-
baby deer.
They made him less intimidating because of size and more intimidating over appearance.
Right.
Okay.
Um.
Because he was
No,
huge in the animated.
I had no problem with the animation of the Beast. I actually really liked it, and I really do like the concept drawings and what I've seen of Lumiere and
Mhm.
Cogsworth. And I love the casting for Cogsworth. And now I'm starting to kind of warm up to the casting of Lumiere.
Uh-huh.
Like I said, it was that first line that he had, and like I said, I don't know if it was because it was the first thing he ever recorded,
Yeah.
or if it was just the sentence he was saying, but it sounded weird.
Did it sound weird?
It did.
It did.
And I'm not, but that's where I was kind of being harsh. I'm like, I really hope it gets better in the actual movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I really hope that they, that was just a false or a bad cut that they're like, oh, we'll throw this in the trailer, freak everybody out.
Yeah.
You just can't. You can't trust or you can't judge a movie by its trailer, Aaron, unless you're French.
Yeah. However, I will say,
I-
like I told you earlier today, Josh Gad, who plays Laveau, who plays
Yes.
Gaston's little henchman, the little scenes that I've seen of him singing Gaston
Yes.
I'm very impressed because it sounds exactly like the original.
Now, I do think one thing that they did really good on is they casted Lee-Manuel Miranda, who came up with Alexander Hamilton.
Yeah.
He did the music for the new Beauty and the Beast.
That's smart.
So I think that's kind of where they got smart.
It's kind of like putting asking Hans Zimmer to make a score. It's gonna work out pretty well for him.
Right. Well, and like I said, he already had the songs.
Yeah.
He just had to kind of modernize them a little bit
Mm-hmm.
to fit the new image that they had on this new movie.
Yeah.
And again, I haven't seen the movie. I'm going to see it probably in the next week, so I'll have a review the next episode.
Yep.
But from what I'm seeing from bits and pieces that I'm getting here and there through Facebook and other sites like that, it seems better, or it seems really good. The music seems to be good.
Yep.
Although I keep having to yell at my girlfriend because I'll walk into it after coming out to my grill, and she'll be playing the music, and I'll be like, seriously, stop. I'm getting annoyed. Like, I've heard one song. I want to be just as surprised. And
the beauty that I see on the screen, I do not want to be
right.
tarnished.
I feel like you lose something when you listen to the music before you listen to.
True.
Like
it's kind of like watching a game walkthrough before you actually play the game. You're like, this game isn't fun anymore.
Right.
I know what to do.
Right.
However, this is a little interesting tidbit. It kicked Alice in Wonderland, the first
Alice in Wonderland?
Yeah, the live action one.
Yes.
Yeah, it kicked its butt in the box office first for the weekend opening.
Did it?
Alice in Wonderland is $116.1 million.
See, I feel like that should
and that was the highest one up until this point.
I feel like that should have been better because that was actually a pretty decent movie.
It was all right. I think the issue with it was the same issue with a lot of people have with Jungle Book. And
I had no issue with Jungle Book. I
liked it.
I really loved it.
But because they took so much from the actual source material that wasn't in the Disney version, that people were like, this isn't the Alice in Wonderland this isn't the Jungle Book I grew up with. Like, no, because Jungle Book they actually did the Rudyard Kipling version, and Alice in Wonderland they took the I can't remember the guy's name. Anyway, they took the actual book forms and they put it on screen as opposed to.
But I actually
Disney.
liked that it was a different take.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't really a remake; it was a rehash.
Yeah.
They completely redid the storyline, and for certain things like the Jungle Book.
Lewis Carroll, thank you.
What?
Lewis Carroll, that's
okay.
Alice in Wonderland.
I thought it was really good, and I thought Johnny Depp did a really good job in Alice in Wonderland. I love the storyline. I did see Alice Through the Looking Glass. That is on Netflix, or was the last time I checked. They've changed it so often. I liked it. I thought it was really good. They did add a time travel element to it, which made it kind of cool. Because
I don't like time travel in movies for one reason, because it always makes me ask the paradox questions. Like, what if this really happened though? But what if this? What if this? What if this? And
this one is
time
like
travel is a messy concept.
This one was literally she was talking to time himself. So they made time a man.
Oh.
They made time a character, and he had a vessel that he could travel back into, like, not forward.
Yeah, just backwards.
Just backwards.
That seems very bad for him.
Well,
time.
It was one of those things where I thought he was going to be the villain.
Yeah.
And spoilers. I'm just warning you now.
Always spoilers.
Spoilers. But the more I watched it, the more I realized he wasn't the villain. I'm not going to reveal who the villain was because that really spoils the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But he wasn't the villain. He was just trying to because essentially Alice stole something, and it was essentially killing him.
Yeah.
It was unraveling time itself. And I thought that was a cool element to it. Because he had this grand clock.
Okay.
That all clocks ran on. It was like time itself.
Literally the grandfather clock.
And yes, and it was the man was literally like he opened up his chest and there was a clock.
That's disturbing.
And he was all like gears. It was really cool CGI and stuff. It was really cool, but his clock was synced with that clock. And if that clock ran back, by going back in time, it was literally the father clock was running backwards.
Oh my.
In unraveling time.
Oh.
So it's like literally rewind and redo.
It wasn't redo. It was literally time was going to collapse.
Oh, that's not good.
And never exist.
Ooh.
and unravel. And I thought that was a cool element to add to it. You know, the fact that Alice wasn't really this she's a hero, but she's not. You know, she did something bad to do something good, and essentially it was leading to something bad.
Jeez.
So it was a really good movie. I would highly suggest it. I think you guys would like it. And Beauty and the Beast, I am pumped for. I'm going to see this week.
Mm-hmm.
My challenge to both of you, if you're going to join us again next week, is to go and see the movie. We can either A, I'll go see it together, or B, see it on our own and review it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, again, I won't be here for next week's show. I'm gonna be at the Joe Louis seeing Green Day in concert. So.
Well, you still need to.
I am still going to see it. I'm gonna try and see it before the next show that I'm on, which is gonna be in 2 weeks. And,
how about you watch it and then record something, and we'll play it on the next show.
That sounds like a good idea.
I don't know if I'm gonna. I don't know if I'm gonna have time to see it this week.
Anyway, we'll get Mark's review when we get Mark's review. But if you want to join me again next week, you and I can go and see it at some point. And we will be sure to give our review next week. Now, one thing I do want to slide in real quick. I did see Moanna.
Moanna.
I think it's Moanna, actually.
Moanna.
It's Moanna.
Anyway.
I'm pretty sure.
It was a really good movie.
That's the Michigan way of saying Moanna.
Moanna. I got so sucked into the movie.
Marijuana?
I got so sucked into the movie that I forgot.
Mary Jane? What?
That's street talk for marijuana.
That I just... Okay, guys.
Dang it, Bobby.
Reel it back in.
Sorry.
No, I was so sucked into the movie that I forgot that The Rock was playing the demigod.
Oh, okay.
I could really, I really connected with the character. I just kind of got sucked into the movie. That's how good it was. And I think it kind of brought Disney back to its roots. Instead of having this big, elaborate soundtrack, it had one song that kind of kept reoccurring throughout the movie. And then it had one song because the demigod had to sing. Yeah. And because it's The Rock, it really wasn't singing. It was talking over music.
Right.
Because
The Rock don't sing.
The Rock doesn't sing.
No. He don't.
But I think it brought him back to their roots. It's kind of like the James Bond. When they did Skyfall and they gave him a gun and a transmitter.
Yeah. Right.
Rather than 50 other gadgets that were assigned for one specific purpose, and he would just throw them away after that. So it kind of brought him back to their roots, and I really liked it. So if you get the chance, go and see Moanna or Moanna or however you want to say it.
Moanna.
Depending on what part of the country you're from. You can even say it, Moanna.
Moanna. You gonna go see that Polynesian girl Moanna this weekend?
Moanna?
Anyway.
No.
Moanna.
So, no, I highly suggest it. I thought it was really good. The plot was really cool. And it was nothing like I expected from the trailers, which is what I like in a movie. I want the trailer to kind of give me some idea of the characters and be completely different with the plot line.
Yeah.
That's what a good movie is, rather than giving it all away in the trailer. So, ending off on that note, we are 11 minutes over. We did have way too much content today.
We did have a lot.
Sorry.
No,
it was really good.
Yeah, no, it's better to have too much than too little.
Yes. So thank you, Lucas, for coming on.
It was a pleasure.
Again, welcome. You're welcome to come on anytime you'd like.
Of course.
I think we've already determined you're going to be on next week, so
yep, I will try my best.
You know your assignment if you can make it. Mark, you're skipping next week, so I will see you the following week.
Again, I have some stories that I could throw in next week if you guys want to run with those. We'll see.
We might. I guess that's pretty much it for me. I'm Aaron Klingsmith.
I am Lucas Sanders.
And I'm Mark Wilson.
Signing off.